All right, live. Give me a few minutes to shout out. All right, go ahead and hook the mic up. Just give me a couple minutes to get situated here. Just quick. Give me a second here. All right, do some quick editing, and then we'll get going. Give a few minutes for some people to get here. Just hang tight for a couple minutes. All right, let's do this editing. All right, here we go. All right. All right. Yep. All right. Today's date, 3rd. I think we are good. All right, we are good. All right, hang tight. We're gonna get started. Hold on. Get my water. All right, we're gonna start in a minute. All right, let's see where we at here. All right, let's go run through a couple quick announcements. We get some more people here. Hold on. So I got everything organized here. You might have to excuse my voice. Just got over a real bad bug that I had for about a week, so the voice ain't the greatest. That's why I haven't really posted any videos throughout the week. But I'll get back to that this upcoming week. I'm feeling a lot better now. Just a couple quick announcements. All the November, as we're winding down the year, all the November classes are posted, listed on the Patreon, also listed on the Primordial Chaos 9 Instagram, which I obviously just forgot. Let me get that going. All right. So yeah, all the information I'm about to run through is posted on Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram. Also, Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook. And then obviously right here on YouTube, all this information on YouTube, this information is available in the community section on the YouTube page. If you go to the Primordial Chaos YouTube page, we are live streaming on all of those platforms right now. So let me just run down, just so because I have the dates in front of me to give the correct dates, the accurate dates, and the times, just so I don't mess them up. And this will kind of take us to the end of our year, and then I'll remind people what we're going to do, the one thing in the month of December. All right. So it actually starts to kick off tomorrow. Okay, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Necromancy and Dark Witchcraft class number 2. This series of class just started. If you want to get in and sign up for the classes that I do offer, all of them are done through Patreon. Okay, and you got to go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3, that's the tier you want to join. That's the tier that's going to give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, in addition to the group ritual we do together at the end of the month. All right. So I'm going to run through this month's classes and the ritual for this month, just so everybody's aware. So again, it kicks off tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Necromancy and Dark Witchcraft class number 2. That's tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is the 4th of November. And then the next class after that will be on Thursday, November 16th. It's Left Hand Path, Norse Mythology and Runes class number 4. Okay, that's Thursday, November 16th at 8 p.m. The next class after that for the month would be Sunday, November 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Clepothic Sorcery and Magic class number 6. And then we close out the month. This is a little odd. We usually don't do rituals on a Thursday evening, but the way the schedule and the month has fallen, the final thing for the month of November will be Thursday, November 30th, ritual of the 7-headed dragon of Leviathan. That'll take place on Thursday night, November 30th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To get access to these classes and the monthly ritual, again, the way you do that is you go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. And that'll give you access to the classes and what we're doing. Again, also, I want to put out there for those on the Patreon, I know most of you know, and those, the new ones that join, all the classes are now archived in the collection section, just in case you missed that notification and you are on Patreon, okay? So now when you go onto the Patreon page, something I should have did a little while ago when they put that back there, but being so busy, sometimes just took me a while to get it, all right? But now when you go onto my Patreon page, if you go to the collections, you hit collections, each categorized class is now archived in order. So it's much easier to find rather than having to scroll down through the entire main post page, which can be a little time consuming. So you have a whole section for all 18 shadow work classes in numerical order. There's 18 and counting. You have the Clepothic Sorcery, the Luciferian Magic classes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Each one is now categorized, archived, and numbered in order. So now when you go on there, rather than, again, have to peruse the whole main post page, you can find what you're looking for. So it's very easy, very convenient. And it's a great way, as you know, if you've been on Patreon, if you're doing the ongoing series, it's much easier now to find them in order and stay in order and not skip around and email me asking me shit that's in the classes that I know you didn't watch based on the questions that sometimes people ask. All right. Just got to put that shit out there. All right. So check it out, patreon.com/Baniti, BANITI, tier 3. That's the tier you want to go ahead and join. That'll give you access. Again, if you look at the ticker on the bottom, if you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I'll get back to doing that stuff next week as I'm in the end stages. As I said, excuse part of my voice. I've been out of it for several days now. Haven't done much. Starting to feel better. So going to try to get back into the regular swing of things. All right. So if you're interested in a reading or a consultation, reach out to me at khnum19@gmail.com. I offer various different readings, Klopathic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, deity readings, shadow work readings, Egyptian oracle readings. Just shoot me an email and I will send you information on how to book a reading or a consultation. All right. Also, as you see, which we're a long way out from that, but I put it up there now, as the 6th annual conference is completed. We've gone through the gate and entering a new cycle now as we passed Samhain, All Hallows Eve, into All Souls Day. Our cycle is coming to an end, okay? As we go into Stasis and Darkness, as I explained last time, so the conference, October 2024. Right now, just going to be in the same venue unless something changes. But again, we're a bit out from that, so I'm just going to put it out there. But you know, every year it's in October, end of October, 3rd or 4th week in October. More to come on that as we get closer there. Don't forget to hit the like buttons. I'm not sure why. I really believe YouTube's fucking with these algorithms because I don't know, people saying they ain't getting notifications. I'm starting to see less and less people sometimes show up. And I don't know what it is, man. Even I'm seeing sometimes they're taking views away from you now. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but it's them forces at play, folks. Them forces at play. But we just roll with it. But hit them like button, get this video out. Because I know they don't want this type of information to get out. They tightening down on a lot of shit. Okay, they trying to really screen and control a lot of shit, and I've definitely seen it elevated. And what I'm gonna do in the month of December, which I only usually do at a select group, but I'm gonna be doing it for the Patreon members. I kind of do an end of the year summary and some prophecies of what to expect for the 2024. Or the upcoming new year. That'll be in the month of December. A lot of the things that I've told people to be aware of, okay? Which if you really attune yourself in, you can see the shit coming. It's not like it's rocket science, but you see these things happening. You see these things, coming down the pike. A lot of the things that they're doing, a lot of the changes, a lot of the restrictions, this, that, and the other. All right. But you see the title. Okay. So we'll get into some of that as we go along. And some of these words, and sometimes I use some of these words for a reason because, yeah, you do. See, that's crazy. That's what I'm saying. How I know they're playing because it's just they play with something because usually by now I have way more people in here, and some people keep emailing me saying they're not getting any notifications, and I just don't know how that is. You do. I've been saying that for years. You do have to, when you subscribe to anybody's channel, not just mine. If you don't, after you subscribe, if you don't hit that notification bell, there's a drop down when you hit it. You must hit all notifications. Because after you hit that notification bell, when you see the drop down, make sure all notifications is checked, because if you don't, you're just going to get some of them. Now, I've had people tell me this, that they've been a subscriber on the channel for a while, and they had clearly conscious and remember having all notifications checked, and then they go back in and they check their drop down and it's not checked all notifications. That's why I know they fucking around with shit. How they have access to go into your subscribers and do stuff like that. Just gonna keep it real. So just, I would encourage everybody, always check your settings, especially your notification settings, because unfortunately, there's nothing I can really do on my end. I know people email me, I didn't get a notification. It's fucked up, but maybe bring it to YouTube's attention, contact YouTube and say, I'm subscribed to this channel, but when live videos go on, I'm not getting a notification. And my thing is either checked, notified, or I had it all notifications. And then I go in there and it's not checked all notifications. That would be probably something good to do. Not saying it's going to work, but maybe you get some type of response. But yeah, I've been noticing a lot of funny shit over the last 4 or 5 months or so. That is clear cut. But at the same token, it is what it is. Not much we could do. All right. I use the titles. I use the words sometimes in these titles because I do it for a reason, because we've been programmed to hear these words and automatically when we're in our ignorant state, these words equate to fear. Okay. Now, I do it because I want to reverse the trend on the meaning of some of these words. Okay. Because when we hear the word infernal or sinister or the occult or the left-hand path, any of these terms, because these are terms that we as humans to a degree have to connect with to get a certain level of understanding. So I use them purposely sometimes in titles because I want to reverse the trend of the meaning. And then we can explain this to other people who are clueless to what this path is about. First of all, let me say infernal blessings to all and greet you. Shout out, what's up, Zach, Bree, your Glory, Adam, Merciless Butcher, and anybody else that I forgot. Infernal blessings. Let's get that out the way. As I was doing the editing to try to get going. Again, if you came late, excuse my voice. I'm just recovering from a really bad bug. And I'm just starting to feel better yesterday going into today. So I will do my best. So again, I want to first start, and then I'll tell you why I titled this video that. But let's look at the meaning in the dictionary of the word sinister, right? Automatically, before having any type of awareness, we heard this word when we were young, and we heard, oh, sinister, that's something really horrible, bad, or evil, or wicked. All right, but did we ever really stop and look at the meaning of the word? And then I'm going to look up the word infernal, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. There's a method to my madness. Okay. Here's a couple of these meanings. Giving the impression that something harmful or evil is happening or will happen. There was something sinister about that murmuring voice. Okay. I like this one. Archaic heraldry of, on, or toward the left-hand side. Right? This is in the dictionary now. In a coat of arms, from the bearer's point of view, the right as it is depicted. Now, if you really break that down, in left-hand path, if you're really looking at it from that angle, the left is really right and the right is left. There's a science in that, if you understand it. So when we're saying the left-hand path, are we saying technically we're right? And the right-hand path, what they're saying is left is wrong, Something to think about when you look at the archaic eldridge definition of it. And I did this for a fucking reason, because people don't really understand the meaning of these words. And English is a very confusing language, because English is a conglomeration of every language that preceded it. All you got to do is look in the dictionary. Every word, from the old French, from the old German, from the old Hebrew, from this, that, the old Latin, any language that predated English is the root of just about every English word. And this is why some words can't be translated into English, because it loses its meaning in transition. Okay. So when we look at some of these meetings, which I find interesting, let's just again, what is a good synonym? I love when they give these. Ominous. These are good definitions or synonyms that connect to sinister. Ominous, menacing, threatening, bleak, dark, foreboding, somber, murky. They got more here. Okay. Unfortunate. That's my favorite one. Inauspicious, direful, gray, desolate, depressing. Right. I mean, the list goes on. I'd be here for about 3-4 minutes reading, and some of these it gets worse as you read because some of them God forsaken. That's my favorite, which is really religious in nature. But sinister simply is just another word that separates ourselves from that methodology and mentality of conformity, right? We have to be careful when we use these words. In essence, it does convey a message and get a point across, but we have to be careful when we use these words because they can be seriously misinterpreted by the way they've been indoctrinated. Okay. So everything it describes, the main definition, given the impression that something harmful or evil is happening or will happen, there's something sinister about. That's just confirmation of a concept or a term when we're tapping into something else that's out of the norm, right? Now, you always have to do your due diligence because when you're reading Webster's dictionary, research who Webster is, right? Because a lot of these dictionaries and encyclopedias and tools of reference we use, these were written by religious folks, right? We don't take the time to stop and do that, right? Your dictionaries and your encyclopedias are written by mostly by Christians, religious people, right? So anytime you're reading a book of definitions or meanings, the author, his or her background and their spiritual belief system, their understanding of science and history and language, obviously, is going to have a strong interpretation on the definition or the meaning or what you're reading, right? And this is why we have to be careful when we use these words. It's another term that makes us adverse to the norm and separated from conformity. But the sinister part, the unknown, when it talks about evil, and as I said, when you take that word and reverse it, really technically in reverse it spells live, right? And that's the crazy part. We've all heard that many times over the years. So what they're calling evil, is that a form of casting words through a spell, through trickery, as they say? Okay. And this is kind of what's funny to me when I look at this stuff and how people can get caught up in it and look into it and only see the religious aspect of it. And you got to look a little deeper than that. Now let's look at the word real quick, infernal, which you hear me say that all the time, right? Infernal blessings, infernal greetings, infernal this, infernal that. What does this word mean? Now, look how spooky they get. Infernal, relating to or a characteristic of hell or the underworld, the infernal regions. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. The person that declared this, the official definition of this, where do you think that that's coming from? Let me say it again. Relating to or characteristic of hell or the underworld. This is obviously somebody, Webster and the like. Oh, this is from the Oxford Dictionary. No different. These are just your English Christians. Okay. The infernal regions of hell, right? Which we know the religious concept of hell and heaven is a mythological belief, right? It's a play on word. The Greek word is Hades, a place of hiding or enclosure, right? That's all the word means. A place of hiding or enclosure. And then when you look at the word heaven, which they say is somewhere out there or above, right? It's this mythological place somewhere out in the clouds where there's this old man with a long beard sitting on the throne. And there's some little fat kids in diapers flying around with wings and all that mythological bullshit. This obviously comes from a person who's influenced by religion. But now, why do we use it? Infernal, because notice how it says the underworld. What is the underworld, the void, or the abyss to us? The deep aspects of our subconscious mind. That's where you connect with the void and the abyss. That's where you connect with the various aspects of your subjective realms, plural, in consciousness. There's not one astral realm. So please stop saying you've been to the astral realm. There's astral realms, plural. So when we're talking about the void of the abyss, whether we're using the concepts of the clip path through the Citra Akra into the cliff, right? When we talk about the dark tree, as opposed to the Kabbalistic tree, right? Which is the antithesis, the dark tree to that Kabbalistic tree, right? Which also represents non-conformity, right? The thing that's so fucked up that I can't understand how what people don't grasp. These are the same people that'll talk about the yin and the yang, duality to everything in the universe. Well, if you just believe that there's all good, then you can't accept the concept, for an example, of the yin and the yang. And if you truly understand what the yin and the yang is, it's just talking about vibrational degrees and polarity of the same thing. Okay. And it's how one interprets or perceives that polarity. That's what truth really is. I know people that have certain spiritual beliefs, spiritual practices. Some are so proud and they think that their particular spiritual practice is the 100% pure, undiluted, infallible truth. That's the biggest fucking stupidity mistake they made from the get-go, because there's no one correct way of doing anything. And it's very easy to prove that, okay? Truth is based on perception. Truth is based sometimes to certain individuals more so on pure faith and belief than it is on certain facts, information, and spiritual experiences. So when we talk about, again, this concept of truth, we have to factor in perception, okay? Because if you think you have a spiritual system that is the undiluted pure truth, it doesn't exist. And that's why I always quote one of Nietzsche's, my favorite saying: you have your way, I have my way. As far as the right way or the only way to do things, it doesn't exist. That's step one to obtaining the truth, by removing and shedding yourselves from all of those indoctrinated ideologies. I don't give a fuck what you've been practicing. People, well, I've been doing this for so long. I've been a Buddhist for 25 plus years. I don't give a fuck. Doesn't mean anything to me. Just like you don't have to give two shits about what I do. Not losing any sleep over it, trust me. Okay? This when people come to the realization that this is a personal journey fucking first, and stop trying to fit in somewhere that's going to make you feel fuzzy and warm, and stop trying to get in what everybody's doing, and stop fucking stroking your ego to make yourself feel good because you think you know a little something. Okay? Until you shed that mindset, nothing's going to change for you. You're just walking around feeling proud, thinking you got a bunch of knowledge when you're looking stupid as hell and you don't even know it. Okay? And I'm hearing the most ridiculous shit. I'm hearing people say stuff about this path that they have no clue what they're talking about. Oh, this is a path of selfishness, right? They don't have no compassion, or they don't care for nobody. Where are you getting this shit from? So now we're going to, that's like classifying every Christian, Muslim, or Jew in the same exact category. Even though I go hard in on religion, I make sure I acknowledge that. I'm not saying that applies to every Muslim, Christian, or Jew, because I know many Muslims, Christians, and Jews that are very good people, right? We may not agree doctrine-wise. We might have some interesting conversations, but they're very mature, respectable people who know how to agree to disagree. That's just like saying what's going on in Palestine and Israel right now, that every Palestinian or every Israeli, that's part of this conflict deserve what they're getting. No, none of those people, innocent civilians, should be dying. Forget the people on both sides that have a political and religious agenda. We know what's been going on there for years. See, I'm looking at the human factor, okay, on both sides. No innocent human beings, regardless of what your whole belief is on the conflict, the occupying of the territory and the lands, because that's a whole debate in itself. Okay, I'm not even going to waste my time in getting into that because this is something that'll go on long after we're gone, unfortunately. But the point is, innocent men, women, and children should not be dying. Okay, that's the fucking point. Okay, and it's just like judging and putting all those in a category. So don't do it to us either. Okay, to sit and make statements that we're this and we're that. And I'm just saying stuff you hear in circles. We're running into ignorant people who do not know what the infernal, sinister path of the occult is about. Oh, you guys are so evil. Like we walk around in black robes all day and shit. Like we're not normal. It's just fucking comical in 2023, going into 2024, how ignorant and foolish people still are. Okay. So we need to approach. Oh, let me address something too. I meant to do this in the beginning. Wanted to wait till more people came in. I know a lot of you people reached out to me about this in the last few days. I know some of you who might know who. I'm sure a lot of us here know who Brother Panic was. We do know Brother Panic transitioned on. His wife made an official announcement of that. And I know a lot of you guys reached out to me. Yes, I'm 100% well aware of it. I'm sure everybody is by now. It's been about 2 days or so, or 3 days. Some more information on that I ain't going to disclose, but I can tell you this, I was very well aware of it, okay? And obviously, if some of you guys were paying attention, you could see in the last couple of years in his videos, he was not right. I'm not going to get into detail, I know exactly, but I'm going to leave that alone. But you could see he was sometimes laying down in bed doing videos, having a difficult time sitting up, but I commend him for doing it the way he wanted to do it on his terms. I do have a brief history with Panic that some of you know. Some of you found me through Brother Panic. Some of you found me through him. Didn't have in recent years a lot of history with him because things changed. You know, people just do different things. But probably from 2014 and 15, and actually you can go on his page. I did some radio shows with him. He was on a radio show that we used to have called Awakening Universal Minds. And if you go onto his page and just scroll through, there's a couple episodes there. I did a show with him also in Alim Bay. And, shout out to Alim Bay. I know they were close. So, there was a 2-year period that I would talk to him on and off on the phone. We did have some lengthy conversations during that period. It's obvious. I don't need to run through. We do know he was connected. He definitely was, a spiritual teacher, one of the many that are out here amongst us doing what we're supposed to do. I know everybody likes to group us in the same category because there's not a lot of quote unquote occult left-hand path teachers out there, this, that, and the other. But I just wanted to address it because, I am aware of it. This will kind of address all that because I can't get back to everybody's email. I can't get back to everybody's text. So I just wanted to address that. I do want to acknowledge the brother's passing. I do want to acknowledge the brief history I had with him. We actually grew up, where he grew up in Queensbridge and where I grew up in Southeast Queens, and also on the Nassau County, Long Island border, wasn't far from. So we had a lot in common when we used to talk about that and hip hop, and we even did a whole show on that on the radio. It was a long show because none of them shows, and I can get long-winded with it too. But again, you can find those shows on his page. I believe I have them on the podcast page somewhere archived. So I just, again, out of respect, wanted to acknowledge that. I know he meant, a lot to a lot of people. But you guys, as I said before, we're all gonna have that time, right? And there's got to be a point that the student got to let go of the master's hand. So for all those, my advice to you guys out there, and I know he was an elder or a guide to a lot of people out there. Here's your defining moment. And I would say this, I'm sure that's what he would want you to do, or any great teacher would want you to do. It's time now. You must let go of the master's hand and continue your journey. Okay. So look, we know that existence and transition is forever. We know we have the ability to tap in to those spirits, elders, gods and goddesses on that level. So if you have that power, you know you can still tap in, right? So just to address that formally out of respect, and this too, some of my concerns, I know there's going to be a lot of kooks coming forward, unfortunately, trying to, and this is what happens, they're going to try to feed off of this, get clickbaits. That's why I'm not going to do any videos putting panics titles in my videos, because I'm not looking for clickbaits. But it's going to happen. People, and it is happening already, by the way. They'll use it for clickbaits to get views. And there's going to probably be a bunch of kooks out the gate in the early stages soon, professing to be channeling him, this and that. It's going to happen. All right. But anyway, to finalize that, I just want to make it clear my condolences to his family, his wife, his children, and to all those who he was beloved to. Okay. I send my deepest, sincere condolences. We don't need to speak on his greatness. His greatness, he's left that legacy there, just like any great teacher that's passed on. So to sit here and just ramble on and try to immortalize him would be a waste of time. Okay. This is why I said now we have to ask ourselves, we need to make sure we leave our mark when we have transitioned on. Okay. So that's the important thing. So I just wanted to get that out the way. You don't need to contact me. Don't need to ask me what I think. What I think is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with it. Okay. I can't give my interpretation on another man's transition and journey into that next realm. I mean, shit, it speaks for itself, right? Just tap into the greatness that's here, that was left behind. Okay. Because it's still here. Okay. It doesn't go anywhere. Let's focus. Everybody want, what happened? What is it? Why? Well, what do you think? Blah, blah, that. What I think is fucking irrelevant. It means absolutely nothing. If you're asking in a sense that you don't know what to think and you're confused, then please word your question like that. I know what I'm thinking. I'm clear. Like I said, I know my short, brief connection with him, and that's something that I have. I have still some of those personal conversations. Regardless, even though in the last several years we didn't have any connection like that, didn't really speak at all, but I still have that connection. That's permanent. Okay. And for all those, whether it's Brother Panic or any other great elder or teacher that has transitioned or passed on, that's how you keep that personal connection. It doesn't go anywhere. Same thing with Dr. Delbert Blair, right? It's been several years now. I still got that connection. I don't look at it like that. It's not a matter of what I think, it's what you think, right? Because if you're asking me what I think, it means you're not sure what to think. All right. So to finish up on the Infernal part, I just want to throw, I meant to do that in the beginning, but I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. All right. Excuse me. So on the Infernal part, the reason why we use that word, hold on, what the fuck is this? The reason why we use that word, you saw the term that they have, and as I was getting into the infernal meaning, we know that's talking about the void, the abyss. They describe the infernal stages of the abyss of hell, which is so hilarious to me when you look at that definition. We know what that means, right? Because that is one of the main things we focus on this path, okay? We focus on tapping into that abyss, tapping into that power of Leviathan, tapping into all of those aspects of what they call the infernal sinister path, because everything about it is nonconformity. Everything about it is what mainstream would call not normal. Okay. And all those definitions are definitions of fear, to control your emotions, And sometimes I'm going to be honest with you, cultists are guilty of using that and playing off of it. Okay. And we have to be careful because just like anything else out there, sometimes people that don't know or not in the know tend to run with these mainstream definitions. You see this. Come on. We see this in all different facets or walks of life, unfortunately. It's fucked up, but it's the reality. Okay. And that's why I was using the analogy earlier. Even though I go in hard on religion and the stupidity of it, I don't classify every monotheistic practitioner, Muslim, Christian, or Jew, in that category. But the reason why, as a whole, I address it, because there's a large percentage that are. Okay. And take it for what it's worth. Now I'm going to sit here. And it's not no validation because, to be honest with you, one, I don't really give a shit, but I have to address that though. Okay. So when we're navigating through this path, because these are questions sometimes people ask, what are you? I love that. It's my favorite fucking question. Right? You got to be able to explain this stuff. And as I said before, a good teacher teaches people on their level. You don't teach people just the shit you like. Right? You got to feel a person out, come down to their level, and then that's how you address and you teach them. Right? Don't just go into shit that you like. People do this shit all the time. All right. So the next thing I want to get into real quick, and then I'll take some of your questions. Again, I'm going to try to keep this roughly, if I can, about 2 hours. All right. As we know, we just passed through one of our high times of the year, which they call All Hallows Eve, Samhain Day, All Souls Day, and all these different terms and different paths. Now it's funny because some people who think Halloween is evil, and I love religious people that do. If you really look up the origin from some of the pagan beliefs, whether it's the Celts or the Druids, right? The origin of the whole costumes and dressing up, where does this all come from? Yes, there's different sources people pull from, but you'll find that in those systems, say of the Celts and the Druids and some of those pagan systems, they dressed up in those scary characters to ward off spirits that they felt were threatening them or their lands. So it was a ritual practice, right? We can get into some of the elementals, but I'm saying this is the foundation of it, right? It's not what people think it is, right? Now, when you go deeper outside of paganism and you go back even further, when you connect it to more so to the occult and the left-hand path, right? We really understand what this season represents. And I'm not going to get into all that again because I talked about it last live. But it really connects us to the ending of one cycle going in to another. And the reason why, again, the infernal sinister path, to me, this is that time of year. Okay. To me, this is the period where there's so much energy out there in the ethers. They call it holiday season. I call it an abundance of vampiric energy if you know how to tap into it. So when Halloween kicks in, it starts the season of the 4 most prominent holidays of the year that heighten it. Just think of the energy that's out there during Halloween. If you're a real sorcerer, magician, necromancer, you can relate. If not, you may not even understand what the fuck I'm saying. Think of the energy that's out there during Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the parties, get-togethers, all. Now, I'm not saying all this energy on the surface is productive, but to a magician, all powerful, charged up energy is a very important tool to us, regardless of what people are classifying it. Okay. And then take Christmas into New Year's, you get my point. It's very obvious to see why this is such a heightened time of year. Now, while all of the external people are out there on the surface exuberating and sharing all that energy, we're in a state of stasis and darkness, working on ourselves, focusing inwardly, and we're tapping in to all that energy to recharge ourselves, to empower ourselves. Because we know once we come out of that stasis and darkness, we leave the winter and go into what they call the spring, which represents regeneration, renewal, growth. So this is the time we get ready for that growth, for those changes, right? So that cycle is now officially past. What we call our cycle or year, that has passed. Okay, we're on a different cycle of time than regular folks, right? Why do you think they have their liturgical and religious calendars? Because their spiritual rituals and their practices are all garnered around that cycle. That, trust me, what we're doing, they're doing. People just don't see it. What they're doing is very occult. Just think about the whole. For an example, when you look at the Catholic Church's liturgical, which is just from the word liturgy, their liturgical or religious calendar from the beginning of the year to the end. Look how it's very ritualistic in nature, and then it repeats itself constantly. Okay. They start with Advent, which is the Latin word for arrival, right? We're almost in the Advent season. The arrival of what? The great light that entered the world, which is supposed to be Christ, right? And as we said, we know Christ's birthday isn't December 25th. It's very easy to research that mythological statement, in fact, right? Google it. All you got to do is Google it, right? You don't even need to get books anymore and search, right? There's no historical data anywhere to prove that there was any birth of this character Christ on December 25th. Okay. I already explained to you where that comes from. They came up with that idea because December 25th is the day of the year with the shortest amount of daylight hours. It's the heightened point of what they call the winter solstice. So they thought that would be a great concept. Let's say this light called Christ was birthed into this world on the darkest day of the year. Okay. Now, to a Luciferian, that means something totally different. I've explained that before. Okay. All you got to do is basic math. If you're going to go according to Bible information, it says in the 6th month, the angel of Gabriel came to Mary and told her she was impregnated with this child. Look at the 6th month on the Hebraic calendar. Calculate so-called 9 months after that. You're not nowhere near in the month of December. You're more closer to June when you really do the calculations, okay? So all you got to use is basic common sense to see that even in their bullshit and mythology, they contradict themselves, but people are so ignorant to see it, they don't take the time to research. Now, we can take it back more paganistic to the birth of Nimrod and his mother Semiramis, the origin of the Christmas tree, right? If you read the legend of Nimrod and Semiramis, she claims that every year, that his spirit would return and leave gifts under the tree. So some say that's where this whole gift giving stuff comes. Then you can infuse the mythology of Santa Claus, which is based on a real character in the Vatican Church called Saint Nicholas. This is why you also hear the term Santa Claus synonymous with Saint Nicholas. How did the two get equated? Because if you do the research, Saint Nicholas was a saint that helped orphans and children. He used to visit them in hospitals, bring them gifts and presents, right? So it's mythology infused with facts, right? And it's funny how religious people are so fucking ignorant. They're quick to judge people on certain things. But when you look at the character St. Nicholas and you look at the character Santa Claus, that's who the motif of Santa Claus was taken from. Now, I love all that shit. I don't give a fuck, as I said before. I'm not into all that conscious bullshit. Oh, you shouldn't support that. I'm not into whether you believe it or not. I don't care if you believe it or not. I fuck with it. I deal with it. I love it. I enjoy every minute of it. So it's not going to change. So you're wasting your time. You're barking up the wrong tree. This house is going to be Santa Claused out, Christmas trees out, front's going to be decorated because I tap into the power of what Christmas represents. You don't have to agree with that. You ain't got nothing to do with it. I don't care. If you that egotistical and self-righteous, then that's cool. You sit there and fold your hand. I don't give a fuck. Okay? But I'm trying to tell you, do your research. Get your understanding. Okay? Because sometimes people say shit and they don't even understand. But when you look at their whole calendar, they're in the season of what they call Advent or the arrival. That's what that means when you see the word Advent. And what they do is, and I'm telling you this because I was born and raised a Roman Catholic.
I know everything about the Catholic religion. I studied that goddamn catechism front to back. You know, I was brought up one of them old school Catholics where you went catechism class. Okay, that type shit. That stuff don't really exist no more. It does, but it doesn't. Okay, I'm talking about that Orthodox style Catholicism that back in the day when you went to Catholic school as a kid. Shit's changed. It's not like that no more. But anyway, when you have this time of the season where they get a wreath, right? And this is nowhere in the Bible. And then they get 4 candles. Okay, 3 purple and I believe 1 is white, right? And each week you light a candle for Advent. Very ritualistic. You got the wreath. We know the origin of the wreath and where that ties in ritualistically. I actually used to love the practice of it. I used to love these ritualistic practices of Catholicism. I didn't understand back then. All that other nonsense, I didn't care about. I just like the ritual of the Mass, the smell of the incense, all those things, right? And didn't know then, know now. But that's a very ritualistic practice, right? Then obviously they take you from the birth, right, into seasons such as ordinary time after the birth, and ordinary time extends usually up until you get to around Lent, right? And then you have the Lenten season, which takes you to the high point of the year, you know, the week of the Passion from Palm Sunday into Easter, right? And then it starts all over again, okay? But it's a cycle, right? And it's ritualistic in nature because through repetition, consistently is how the subconscious mind is programmed. That's why it's hard to reach some of them motherfuckers. And we have to use that same process, but in a reverse aspect to reprogram ourselves. First, we must move what they wrongly programmed us with and reprogram ourselves. This is why I say, but we program ourselves through consistency in our work. And this is why it's hard to get through to people like that, because they're in that systematic way of thinking and you can't really penetrate their brain. I'm not really interested in it anymore too. I really don't care on that level because it's pointless, because I learned years ago, grown-ass adults are going to do what grown-ass adults want to do. Okay, so I'm not going to waste my time in senseless arguments unless you're a complete jackass and an idiot and you deserve to get a can of whoop ass opened on you. That's a different story. But you got to do something really arrogant to do that. So at this point, you let people have their bullshit, because what's going on out here in the world, the things that are happening now, we got more important things to focus on. Okay, the world is changing, people. It's not the same. I told you guys this right when the first wave of that pandemic hit in 2020, that quote unquote really first bad negative wave. I told you guys, the world will never be the same as it was prior to the pandemic. And I'm not just talking about the obvious things like the economy. All those things obviously have changed. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's a different energy out here now. They did what they did for a reason. Some have tapped into it, became very well aware. See, some of us who knew what was going on at the time, the real spiritual warriors, utilized that time to strengthen up their armor, their artillery. I'm not talking about physical artillery. Okay? I talked about it. I tried to tell you guys in 2020 what you should have been doing at that time. No, we had motherfuckers complaining about, man, I don't know what else to watch on Netflix. Man, I don't know what to do with myself on the weekend. There's no bars and clubs to go to get fucked up and high and piss away all my money. I just don't know what to do with myself. See, those are the bottom feeders. That's the life force of the weak and the decrepit that they feed off of. Then there were us who did what we had to do. I told you that was a serious time of growth for me and many others that I know I personally communicated with during that time. They're like, man, this shit is crazy of what we're tapping into. Okay. And I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying the pandemic as a whole was a positive time for society. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not wishing for that to happen. But as a true master or god or goddess, you know how to take any situation and pull from it what's going to benefit you. way to look at it is all gloom and doom, like most people did. Okay. And it's a telltale story how people really are tapped in or not. Okay. So stop worrying about conspiracy theories. Stop worrying about what do you think about this or that? What do you think about the war in Ukraine? What do you think about what's going on in Palestine? I did a few weeks back, so I did the one video to address it. You know me, I do like a one and done. I'm not going to be on that shit constantly because I'm not going to let that distract me from what we need to be doing. Doesn't mean I don't care. What it does mean, I don't care to get sucked into it to the point that it's going to distract me. Because at the end of the day, you get lost in transition and all that stuff, and you stop fucking focusing on what you need to do as a whole and everything that needs to be done in your immediate surroundings, you can get swallowed up in that nonsense. Okay? Because guess what? At the end of the day, there's not really much you can do on a personal level. Yeah, you can sit around, feel sorry and compassionate and this, that, and the other. But certain things are happening for certain reasons, unfortunately. Okay. I'm not saying it's all justified and it's all right. Okay. But the reality is, and sometimes if you catch me on the wrong day, I come at people like that, not to be fucked up, but I tell them, I said, so what are you going to do about it? What do you mean? Apparently you're so concerned and distraught about it. What are you going to do about it? The reason why I'm saying that, here's the reality. Now, don't get mad when I say this. Or are you feeling like that because you fear, what if that happens to me? See, that strikes a fucking nerve now. And if you don't get what I'm saying, you're fucking clueless. You should just tune out right now. But let me give you another shot. It's like when you see something happen to a child, and maybe you have a child, and you say it's so tragedy, it's this, that. Are you really feeling it because of that? Or are you feeling it because what if that was my child? And for me, I'm going to be honest, it's both. Okay. So we got to question how we are facilitating our emotions. And I think when a lot of this stuff goes on in the world, some of the people who live in fear say, well, whoa, wow, what if that happens here? Okay. I personally, in the temple that I belong to, the temple of the ascending flame, being a high priest in that order, one of the high priests in that order is from Israel. And we had a class on last Saturday, and he was right in the line of fire. He shared with us some horrific stories, and how he was literally, and I'm telling you why I'm saying this, how he lives right on the Gaza Israeli border, right on that strip where he's in the heat of the action. He was right there when that shit broke out at that music festival. He was at the music festival, or right in that surrounding area, and he was sharing with us stories of how he had to, with a group of others, and I commend that brother for doing what he did. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying this. You're gonna get this. This is gonna hit you. He had to spring into action in the moment and tap into his one, survival instincts, and he was at that moment tried and tested to quote unquote his power and knowledge that he had, and he shared this with us. And I'm listening to this shit, and I'm saying, wow. And the reason why I'm saying we can't get distracted is this. The fucked up part about what's going on over there, the root cause of it is the same God deity that they're giving thanks and praise for. Like I'm seeing all these fools celebrating innocent people. Allahu Akbar. And on the other side, Hashem, these are both people rooted in the Abrahamic faith. And there's this God of death, the butchery, violence, bloodshed, allowing this shit to happen. Okay? And here's the sad reality. It's not going to sit well with a lot of people. The fact of the matter is, it's not Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Hashem, Allah. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Because at the end of the day, none of them are going to anybody's aid. Okay? None of them are coming to anybody's aid. Okay? Allah can't save you, people. Yahweh, Hashem, Jehovah, El Elo, El, whatever you want, can't save you, people. Until these people realize they need to save themselves from themselves. And I say that because as I listen to this brother talk, being involved right on the front lines when that attack broke out and how he had to get people in his car, I watched the gruesome shit he witnessed on both sides. Okay? There was no Allah there to help anybody. There was no Hashem. And here's what he said. He tapped in to the inner forces that he's connected to on this infernal path. And he was able to tap into that warrior energy. And that's what got him through it. Which fucking confirms everything I've been saying for years. Okay? At the end of the day, it's only you and you. I keep telling you, there will come moments, and you'll have many throughout your life, where you will be tried, tested, and proven on that power. And he said, quote unquote, I realized in that moment that there was nothing there that was going to save me but me. And because he was grounded and rooted in his spirituality, that's what got him through it. It was him. Okay? And the sad thing is I sit back and I listen and I watch these conflicts have been going on for fucking years. Okay? It's so sad to people to equate innocent people getting killed yelling Allahu Akbar. God is great. So you think your God is great because some buildings were bombed and women and children and innocent men were killed? And if you're on, it's on the other side too. If you think because if the Israelis believe they have this royal claim and the right to that land and they're justified, we got to look at this two ways, people. And I'm not justifying either or because there's points on both sides. It's kind of funny how when the Palestinians did that brutal, vicious attack, which is definitely not justified, now it's almost like the US government and European nations have given Israel the green light for complete, utter annihilation. Now, isn't that the same thing that in the beginning we were screaming the Palestinians were for wrongdoing? So what I'm essentially saying is it's wrong on both sides to say unjustifiable murdering and attacks is justified. It goes both ways. And I'm not partial to either side. I'm on the human side is what I'm trying to tell you. Because on both sides, innocent men, women, and children are being killed. That's the point. But the point is, back to the brothers sharing that with us this past weekend. Ain't nobody coming to help you, people. You better get that through your thick skulls. Because some of you motherfuckers are still in a religious state of mind. Some of you still look at this path like there's some external shit out there coming to help you. I wish I can tell you that was the case. I wish it was a Marvel, DC Comics ending where there was some superheroes coming for you. You're the fucking superhero, okay? Until you get that through your thick noggins, nothing's gonna change, okay? I still see people sitting around waiting for something or somebody to do something for them. Why? Do you not have confidence in the knowledge that you've obtained in I'm talking about if you're experienced. I'm talking about experienced occultists, practitioners. What are you waiting around for? For all you guys on the Patreon page, I know you guys don't, because look, nobody ever emailed me, what should I do next? Are you kidding me? If you're on the Patreon page, there's enough classes on there and work on there to keep you busy for the next several years. I mean, 18 shadow work classes will keep you busy probably a year or more just in itself. And that's why I created those platforms. There's no way anybody can email me on there and talk about what should I be doing? Because that's just confirmation to me. You ain't paying attention to shit. Okay? There's plenty of work for us to be doing. Okay? And this is why I said, don't get caught up in these plights That's why I brought up the Palestinian-Israeli thing. I get it, but guess what? It's not a distraction to me, right? I empathize with it. It's a tragedy. Everything I just explained a couple of times throughout this class, but at the same day, unfortunately, the show goes on. Okay, this is the reality. Okay, it's the same thing with Russia, Ukraine, and all that. So let's not get caught up in that. Let's focus on what we got to do. So what do we got? An hour 5. If you got some questions, type them in. Please, no spooky shit. I'm not really in the mood for any spooky shit tonight. Okay. Don't be asking me personal dumb shit like, my left ball sack is swollen. I don't know why, stupid shit like that. I can't give you my opinion on subjective shit. Okay. That's why I don't share a lot of personal subjective stuff. All right. So if you've got some questions, go ahead and type them in and I will answer those questions. I don't really see. Let me see if there's anything at the top. Let me start at the top. Look like there's too much here. All right, what do we got? Leo Blanford. All right, says, thank you for all that you do. I appreciate that, Leo. I'm constantly striving to adapt myself to better learn from your material. You are the main spiritual elder that I do pay attention to, and you have my respect. I appreciate that. And I would encourage you, and I'm sure you do, always explore as much material as you can. Always keep your perspectives as wide open as you can. Even the topics I talk about, whether it's Luciferian practice, vampirism practice, anything in the occult, always make sure you're checking out multiple sources because there's a lot of good perspectives out there. But I do appreciate that, and it's always a constant learning process, and that's what people gotta. For all of us, nobody's out. I don't care from the practitioner with very minimal experience to the practitioner with many years of experience. I always use the term, we are always keep the spirit of being a student, not in the sense of being a follower, but keeping the spirit of a student that we're always willing to learn. I always keep the spirit of a student. Why? Because I always want to learn. Not now, there's a different kind of student too. Let me be clear on this shit. Because you have some students that want to be followers. They want to be do boys or do girls. They want to be part of Mickey Mouse clubs and groups and organizations. And they want to feel cozy, paying a membership or some fee to belong to some club and get up under some elders or be a part of the in crowd, this, that, and the other, and be told what to do and, this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, yes, there are people out there that's what they do still in 2024. Okay. So we don't want to be that type of student. But it is a constant learning process that never ends. Okay. Never ends. So we always must keep that spirit, but I appreciate your kind comments. All right, what else we got? Ruben C. Yeah, I know you're on Patreon. What's going on, Ruben? I attended the Santa Muerte ritual last week. It was really good. I really felt her energy. Yes, I do remember you being in there. We just to give you a brief. I always post little short after videos. Yes, this past I think it was it Friday or Saturday? I think it was Friday night. Yeah, Friday night. This past Friday we did a Santa Muerte ritual, the Golden Lady of Death. Yeah, man. All I can say is, Santa Muerte obviously for me is a matriarchal type of spirit that I've been working with for many years now. And as I told you, when we do the rituals, they're just done on the fly. I might have a general gist of what we're going to do, like an outline in my head. And I'm trying to show people the same way. Some of you have been doing this or have been doing it for a while. I'm trying to show you how to create rituals from scratch for yourself. It's not about mimicking anybody. It's not about doing rituals copied word verbatim from a book. That's not going to bring out that divine that exists within you. So what I do is we tap into the moment and what comes naturally in the moment we work with. And we did a very powerful ritual for finances, health, prosperity. and things connected to that, which is needed very much at this time of the year. And then there's a lot of hidden gnosis that we, connected to in the part of the ritual. But all the rituals are right now that everything is archived on the Patreon page. I didn't realize there's 38 rituals and counting on there. That's just the monthly rituals that we've been doing, which tells me then we've been on the Patreon now for just a little bit over 3 years. So there's 3 years worth of rituals on the Patreon page, people. That's just the monthly. That's not counting the rituals and the work and the classes. This is why I'm saying I got enough of shit on there to keep you guys busy for years. It's not an exaggeration. Go on there and you'll see. There's 38 rituals in the ritual archive. If you go on to the page, and for those that are members here, you can verify what I'm saying. You go into the collections. I have a section called rituals. That's just the monthly rituals over the last 3 years. And we're at 38 rituals just for that. That's over 3 years worth of fucking rituals. Okay? And I'm saying that to say, that's why I've been saying for years, what I do is not just talk. Okay? Here, yes, it's open discussion. It's a lot of talking. On Patreon, it's work. That's why that's set up. So that's just 3 years of rituals only. That's not counting the ongoing series of classes that involve work, rituals, exercise. Okay. And for those that have been on, I got some of you guys been on since day one. I got some who've been true blues from the very first day and haven't left. Some of you been there for a while, a year, 2 years, a year, 6 months. Some of you have left, come back, and sometimes maybe it's financial. I get it. But it's not expensive for what I charge. $25 a month for tier 3, $25 a month. Here, I'm just going to keep it 100% real for you. With all the shit that's going on out here now, the cost and the price of shit, if you're not willing to pay 25 measly fucking dollars a month to get 3 classes every month and a ritual, that's too much money for you. No offense. Don't take this the wrong way. Go fuck yourself. Okay? And don't even think of emailing me trying to complain about that shit. Because I see the ridiculous amount of shit that's out there and what people are charging. I'm trying to make it as reasonable as I can. And I've kept that price for years. All 3. Okay? Where else are you going to go and get that for that price? Okay? And it's not just a sales pitch, right? I'm just telling you for what it is. I could easily charge $70 a class, $80 a class. But I know what's going on out here. Okay? But if you're going to sit here and tell me, and I'm doing 3 classes a month, and them classes could be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours or more, you're talking about 9 to 12 hours worth of classes every month and a ritual, and you ain't going to pay $25? Listen, no offense. Go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. It's the only way I could describe it. Okay? It's crazy for me. And the bullshit people piss money with, you probably spend more than that on lunch at least once a week. Okay? I know I do. I'm just saying. So how much more reasonable can I get? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's nobody's ever complained to me about my prices. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm just showing as you move forward in the new year, how do we value our spirituality? Are we willing to invest just a fragment of what we do into our spirituality? I'm saying that to those who might be thinking in my mind, damn, I can't afford 25. Think about what other bullshit you piss away a month. Stupid shit, porn, alcohol, dope. I'm telling you, this is reality. But you ain't got $25. Come on, man. Fuck out of here with that shit. But you get my point. But yeah, Ruben, I appreciate that. And that's how you get down with the rituals, tier 3. If you haven't participated, it's a great thing. I bring everybody in live Zoom. This is how, just in case you're wondering how it's done. I have a spot where we do the rituals. There's some local people. I'm Raven. We have Mike. We have Kevin. Eric was just here who left Sunday. We took Eric to the game. We had a fun time, this, that, and the other. There's usually a small group of us here live locally. I have the cam. I stream it live. Obviously, you have to have an invite. You come in through the Zoom. Everything is linked up. And you participate in the ritual at your altar space while we're doing it, and we all do it together. That's how we do it, right? So I make sure we have a group ritual together once a month. So the Patreon page is built up about creating a spiritual community collectively, which also we still keep doing what we do on an individual level. Okay. So the ritual work is important to me. So again, there's 38 rituals, not counting the work that's in all the ongoing classes. So there's enough of shit on there to keep you busy for a long time. All right. Ruben says, can you do a class on how to work with a phoenix? I feel very connected to this being. Well, the phoenix, as we know, we hear this term, the most popular phrase, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. The reason why is because a phoenix represents regeneration, renewal. It represents going into that great cycle of change. It represents what we call deconstruction and reconstruction. Because in order for the phoenix to rise out of the ashes represents that destruction. Everything must be destroyed so it can be built back up again, right? And any of those, the phoenix, the owl, and as you know, the owl, we focused on that hard in the Santa Muerte ritual. Like the owl, for an example, is a nocturnal creature, right? As I shared with you guys, I think on the last video, the experience we had during the conference and the ritual we did at the cemetery on the second night. I explained to you guys the owl that was in the path as we walked down the main corridor into the cemetery. And we're getting closer. It was so still, we thought it was some type of figurine. And as soon as we got a couple feet from it, we heard the whoo, and it spread its wings and just started elevating. And that was super fucking confirmation for what we were getting ready to do. The owl is connected to the graveyard because it represents the connection of the physical and the spiritual realm. It's and it was dark, and it's always connected to the void and the darkness. Even when you look at the connection with Santa Muerte, you'll see some of the images with Lilith with the owl-like figure at her feet, because the owl has impeccable vision in the darkness. It can see like as clear and as strong, as powerful as one could see on a clear sunny day. It has nocturnal vision. And that's representative of why that owl symbol is so important, because it represents us too. We have to go into darkness to obtain light or intellect or knowledge. And this is why you see the owl at the graveyard. This is why you see a lot of birds like the phoenix representing death and resurrection. Okay? And that's why it's one of the biggest symbols that you see connected with a lot of images of the Holy Death. Most images or statues you see of the Holy Death have some form of the owl connected to it for that particular reason. I've worked with the owl as a very powerful alchemical transformational symbol through Santa Muerte. In one of my daily, every morning when I get up, one of the parts of my invocation with Santa Muerte every day is help me to see things like the owl, so I could see things for what they truly are, not what I think they are. Because sometimes what we see in the artificial light is deceptive. So I want to see things in the darkness, not in the light. See, there's a trick in that. Come into the light, right? Everything, come into the light. I told you before, the light they're drawing you into is the artificial light, the light that blinds. Because light, that artificial light blinds. That bad information they're bringing you blinds you to what? To the truth. Okay? But getting that true light in darkness, because real light exists in darkness, because our planet, we're engulfed in darkness at all time. But is it really darkness? That's the reason why I say that. Place yourself in a dark room. At first, it's completely dark until what? Your pupils dilate the correct way and your eyes adjust to what? The light. And then all of a sudden, which once was a very dark room, you couldn't see shit. All of a sudden, as you stay in that darkness longer, the eyes adjust. It doesn't seem like the room is so dark anymore. Things you couldn't see become very more visible. It's the same reason why in Masonic initiations or orders like that, you're blindfolded. Because they're trying to get you to see with this eye, not these eyes. But the question is, did that room really lighten up? Is it not the same state of existence? that it was before you determined it to be completely dark? Is this also why fear and panic kicks in when we were smaller, or even now? Shit, there's adults who are still afraid to be in a dark room by themselves. What creates that fear and that panic and that makes somebody scared and frightened? The boogeyman. I told you, the boogeyman that's hiding in that room is you. That presence you feel in that room, that you think there's something in that room gonna reach out and grab you, that's you. Okay? It's just the real you is emerging in the darkness, and sometimes we fight it. Okay? See, they don't want you to know that, because they want you to think that supreme being, God force that you've been looking for all these years, they want to make you believe it's outside yourself, somewhere way up in the fucking sky. So they create darkness as being something scary and evil. And I've said a million times before, and I'll say it again. The fucked up part about it is just read the first chapter of Genesis, the first couple of verses. Their God, their most holy, perfect God, it makes clear confirmation in their Bible, exists. It says God's spirit roamed across the void and the deep. So God's spirit existed in darkness and the void before he said what? Let there be light. So don't tell me the void and darkness and the abyss is a bad thing, when the very spirit of your Yahweh, Jehovah, monotheistic biblical God existed in that void, in that darkness, and that nothingness. Because guess what? The chaos, destruction, bloodshed, and war didn't exist in that darkness. It existed once he said, let there be light. Then the ignorance went full circle. All hell broke loose, as they say. See, people don't look at that. You don't have any passage in the Bible where it says, well, in that void. And no, this biblical God carried out all his atrocities in the light. So I don't want to be a part of that light. You can have that shit. Because that ain't nothing but bloodshed. It's a culture of death. It's a culture of violence. It's a culture of a warmongering, narcissistic, controlling God. You can have that shit. I don't want that shit. Okay? Equate that to what's got that going on over there in that conflict. Okay? What is the God of war? We talked about this on the clip off with Arab Arazak, that first doorway or opening into the third astral realm. Third astral realm. If you're familiar with the clip off, Arab Azak, right? That's considered the opening to the third astral realm, which also is connected to the energy of the raven, another bird, which is the energy of dispersion and war. I hope you're catching what the fuck I'm getting ready to say. Look at what's going on over there. There's the energy of the raven, reaping destruction. The God of war is tearing across some of these lands right now. This is why what's going on. You don't got to believe me. I don't want you to believe me. The realm of Ar-Barzakh is open on this fucking plane right now. There's certain things I can't really explain to you because you may not fully understand them. This war part of it, unfortunately, is a filtering out process. Fucked up. But the energy of the raven is dispersing all across this planet right now. Whether that's in the Ukraine, whether that's in Palestine and Israel. But it's funny how people ain't talking about all the genocide that's been going on for years in Africa. You could just look at the Congo or Sudan. Sudan's been having an internal civil war for how many years now? With the South and the North, and how many innocent men, women, and children have been slaughtered? Nobody's talking about that. The Congo's probably, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe statistically is the worst. There's probably been more men, women, and children murdered in that genocide. Nobody's doing shit about it. Okay? All you have to do is look over there. But why is that not a factor? We know part of it is a racial thing, right? Let's call it for what it is. But the same thing when you go over there, religion has colonized all of those countries. A lot of those parts of Africa are now colonized by Islam. Okay? The raven of dispersion and the God of war is being wreaking havoc all across the land. wasn't even going to really share that. But guess what? I'm just going to keep it 100% with you. I'm telling you, I will share things with you guys in that December class. These are the things in those future, like things to expect for the future that I share. I just don't share them with everybody. And there's a reason, because I don't want people to get spooky with it. But there's people like us sitting back. Don't just look at us as just they just some surface occultists. Oh, they just read books. I'm not that dude. Trust me when I tell you. I'm beyond a book reader. Okay? I don't just read books. You people better wake up and realize what's going on within you and around you. But the God of war protects those who are ingrained in the energy of war. I'm not going to get too much into that. I've been saying for years, the spiritual warfare for your soul and mind began years ago. Okay, this is not a war that just started. I told you going back to the 90s, early 2000s, and then really started talking about it again when I first came on YouTube in like 2013. That's one of the first videos I did. If you go back in this archive, it should be the first or second video, I believe. Interplanetary warfare for your mind and soul. This war began years ago. You're just seeing the next level or phase of it because they've unleashed the raven of dispersion upon the planet. Okay? It's nothing to fear, but it's something to be aware of. Because what's going to happen to those that are not aware of what's going on around them and in their environment, this is where people start going batshit crazy. Because they don't know how to put all this in context. They either run in fear, or they're controlled by conspiracy theories, or they don't know what to do next. Oh, the end of the world is coming. There's no such thing as the end of the world. I keep telling you fucking people that. Stop listening to that shit. End of what? How does this all end? As I said before, energy can't be destroyed. And again, I meant to read this last time. Let me read this. Basic law of physics. Okay. This is, unfortunately, we got, God damn, you shut the fuck up, my goddamn ESPN. That shit, I'm turn that shit off. That shit's fucking annoying. Let me pull this up real quick. This is important. And this is why I'm going to really explain simple things. All right. There's a basic term, okay, in science called the law of conservation. And this is why it kills me when people don't understand. We mean energy can't be destroyed. Well, look, the law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither be, check this shit out, created nor destroyed, which is a simple word for saying existence. This is what I mean when I say existence just is. I know it sounds like mumbo jumbo on the surface. You're never going to really understand that from a three-dimensional perspective of person, place, or thing. You will understand it greater when you have your ritual experiences outside of person, place, or thing from four-dimensional existence on. Yes, entering the many astral realms. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. It can only be converted from one form of energy to another. What I've been telling you guys for years, energy can only be manipulated and broken down, confirming it through this basic scientific concept of the law of conservation. Let me say it again. Energy can neither be destroyed nor created because it's always existed. It's going to be hard for you to comprehend that because you're looking at it from a mortal, three-dimensional being. Okay? So this means that a system always has the same amount of energy unless it's added from the outside. The question is, you need to figure out the outside of where. Okay? So this is why I don't do banishing or none of that shit, because people say, well, I'm banishing bad energy. Where are you banishing it to? If it cannot be destroyed, just Google it on your damn phone. Just type in the law of conservation. If you understand this on a deeper esoterical level, you'll really understand what magic is about. You really understand what demons are about, spirits, gods, goddesses, archetypes. They're all forms of energy. We have the ability as magicians and sorcerers to tap into that power. And through our magical power, through our knowledge and understanding, we are able to manipulate and break those energies down. For whatever particular reason, we are focusing or channeling those energies too. So all energy is productive, regardless if you're classifying it as malevolent, sinister, evil, good, bad, positive, loving. Because there's times you need healing energy. There's times you need intellectual, stimulating, powerful energy. There's sexual energy. There is destructive energy, dark energy. All of it is necessary to be a magician. You don't banish any of that stuff if you're a true magician. Now, if you're some fucking armchair quarterback / magician and you want to play fucking Harry Potter, then do your little banishing shit. And again, don't take it personal. You might go, I do banishing. It works. Okay, great. I don't. And nor do I teach it to people. That's all. And that's fine. If you do banishing and say, I disagree with you, Baniti, I do it all the time. And it's great. Okay. Is it that, or is it psychologically what you've created in your mind that's really effectively working? It's what I mean by that is it's like the Christian who prays to God to get money for their electric bill and then goes out and busts their ass hard as hell to work and maybe do a double shift, maybe hustle a little harder and then get that money up and go, praise God. Thank you, God, for giving me this money to pay this electric bill. No, motherfucker, you worked the extra shifts. You did the extra hustling. Technically, you did that. But if you want to give it to an adverse force outside of your body, okay, it's no different than people say, now let's say grace. Dear Jesus, thank you for this food that you've put on this table. You know, we all say this. No, it's the people sitting at that table that worked, raised money, went physically to the store or pulled the food out the motherfucking ground, cooked and prepared it. We should be sitting down saying, Ruth, Phil, whoever, thank you for this food. Thank you for the ability to have and the energy and the power to create this food and manifest this food, et cetera, et cetera. That's my point. Okay. That's the power of the mind. Okay. That's why if you understand that law of conservation, you will understand how we really work with these energies. Okay. And that's why I say energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be manipulated. Okay. And that's why I don't do banishing. All right. All right. Anyway, I know that went left field for a little bit. We'll see what else we got. Zach M, what's going on? I'm not going to say I had a great week. I was feeling like shit. Just to share, not get into detail, because I get miserable as fuck when I'm sick. My whole body aches. I get the achies. Started Sunday. I was up in Kissimmee, Florida. My son had an ice hockey tournament. And as the tournament ended, out of nowhere, I just started feeling like complete, utter shit. Anyway, fast forward a couple days after Sunday, some antibiotics and some rest later. And now getting my body back on the natural stuff, I'm good. And I'm sure there'll be another one coming at some point later in life. But I'm here. So I guess that makes it a good week. All right, what else we got? Yeah, and again, I see Zach and Bree had a conversation. Again, if you came on late about the notifications, I just reiterate, I ain't gonna stay on it too long, but I know some people came after. I've been noticing, I said in the beginning portion of the video, I've just been noticing a lot of odd things on my YouTube channel the last 4 or 5 months with views. I'm just gonna be honest, they've been snatching them. I see them go up and then disappear. Literally, I noticed this on specific videos where it'll be at one number and then all of a sudden I'll go back in and it'll shoot down an excessive amount. I'm like, this shit is crazy. And I know they're gonna screen what they want and don't. Trust me. It is what it is. It's their platform. They can do what they want. So I don't really have much to say on that. But I also noticed this has happened periods on and off over the years. A lot of people recently been reaching out to me saying they're not getting any notifications when I go live. And I can only give you the same answer. I know they're toying with shit, number one. But two, here's just a few quick things you can do to reassure. It's not going to guarantee it's going to work all the time. Again, as I've said in the past over the years, when you subscribe to anybody's YouTube channel, if you want all notifications, yes, you have to subscribe, obviously. But when you hit the notification bell, the drop-down menu comes down. You have to hit all. It's not checked all. Just because you subscribe and hit the notification bell, if you don't let the drop-down come and hit all, it's only going to give you the notifications they feel. Look at it if you never did it on anybody's channel. You must go in there, hit the notification bell, the drop down screen, and make sure all is checked. That's step one. Now, I'm not saying, because I've had people say, I have that. I hit the drop down bell. It says all, you went live, such and such, and I didn't even get a notification. That's just them fucking around shit, unfortunately. Okay. Now, I will tell you to also reassure, because I stream everything through StreamYard, as you see, I would also make sure you're on the Facebook or the Instagram page. That would be the second backup plan, to make sure you get a notification that I'm live. Because as I know, there's a couple people here said they got the Facebook notification, but they didn't get the YouTube notification. Why? I can't give you the exact answer. In my mind, I already know why. Okay? Because I'm not talking about some mainstream regular stuff. So I'm not talking about anything that's wrong, but it's just not mainstream stuff. So they control the algorithms of what they want to get out there. The only thing that's going to change that, the more we spread the videos, the more likes. Make sure you please give the likes. That increases the algorithm where it gets out to as many people. You know, I'm not really worried about that, because my YouTube channel isn't a means of financial support in any shape, form, or fashion. I'd rather attract quality than quantity. I know a lot of people that have these channels and are getting these outrageous amount of views. They buy views. There's ways you literally can hire companies and buy views. Yes, that exists. It's real. You can actually hire a company that will sell you. This is true. Anybody that knows this that's on social media will tell you this. And I'm going to tell you how you figure it out, how that works. Companies will reach out, and they've done it to me. They'll contact you, and you pay them an X amount of money, and they guarantee you an X amount increase in subscribers and views. So they have ways to manipulate, go on and get views. This is real. Okay. So they do this. You can do this with a lot of platforms. You literally pay them money and you get an increase in subscriber views. How do you know this? Look at a person, say, who has 25,000 subscribers, 30,000 subscribers, and you look at the hits on some of their videos. They're only getting 150 views, 200 views. How the fuck are you getting 100 to 200 views for videos that have been up for maybe a year or two, and you got 25,000 subscribers? So literally, they have a list of people they pay to subscribe, and those people may never ever tune in and watch a video again. But they have a system. So YouTube knows this, and they started cracking down on this. And this is why they came up with a new policy not long ago. You can't just click a video now and get a view. That's part of the reason why you see some people's views going down. You have to watch, I forget the amount of time, you have to watch an X amount of minutes now to get a view officially counted, because they figured out that there's people buying views and manipulating views. So when you see a person who's got a channel with like 20, 30,000 subscribers or more, but you're looking at their videos that have been up for 2 years, 3 years, and they got 200, 300, 400 views, that's how you know that's a person who bought subscribers or bought viewership. Mine, regardless of where they're at or not, I got, I think, 7,000 plus subscribers. That's not small, but it's definitely not large compared to a lot of these other mainstream channels. But when you see my views, whether they're from a couple hundred to over 1,000 and change, most of them are genuine views, right? That's just people actually tuning in for however long. I know my numbers are pretty accurate, and I'm more focused on quality than quantity, because a lot of that, when you see these people with these mainstream channels, I know it looks, oh man, they got X amount of views and all these hits. Some of the channels are legit, especially like the mainstream entertainment ones, because that's what people want. But believe me, there are ways out there to obviously buy views and hits. It exists. Anybody that's on in this social media thing knows what I'm talking about is 100% facts. But that's what you kind of need to do to make sure you're getting the notifications. All right. All right. Let's see what other questions. Just looking for questions, not so much comments. Nikki Love says your shows were great. Comments like that, I'll acknowledge. Let me stop. I appreciate that. Mojo, I know this was typed earlier. We're doing a question and answer now, so maybe you got a question at the bottom. I always open up any part of my videos to a question and answer part. So I know in videos that aren't just that, you got to wait till the later part of the video. But if you're still here, you have a question, go ahead, type it in. Arctic Nun says, I might have taken more time than if I had someone teaching me in the physical, but then again, now I'm able to connect to any spirits by hooking on to the frequency that they vibrate on. Yep. What else we got? The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, that movie. They got one. It's fucking crazy. I mean, I guess to me, it's you guys probably seen the preview. You see this movie. I think it's coming out any day now. The movie called Thanksgiving. So they got a horror spin on Thanksgiving. That's going to be fucking hilarious. Can't wait to see it. Maybe you guys have seen it. Some guy dressed up as a pilgrim in some creepy mask. And he's from some small town. And something must have happened that they're connecting it to this whole Thanksgiving thing. And yo, he's going around. I'm sorry, it's just crazy. I saw the long preview on YouTube. He's literally going around taking like humans and putting them in the oven like a turkey. And he's putting vegetables and shit around them. He's taking I'm sorry, it's just a little entertaining. You know the corn on the cob holders. He's taking them, and there's a part in the preview where he's stabbing them through the eyes with this long corn on the cob holder. Whoever thought of this shit was fucking creative. I mean, to my knowledge, I could be wrong. I don't really know too many horror movies that are exclusively centered around Thanksgiving. Obviously, Halloween, there's been many done. Christmas, I know there's been many done. But I thought this was interesting. So actually looking forward to being entertained by it. And the story too. Sometimes the story, as goofy or as dumb or as bizarre as the concept of the movie might seem, sometimes in the whole outline of the story, you could pick up on some stuff maybe. But it's called Thanksgiving. I thought that was kind of funny. What else we got? Johnny Wolf says, you found me through Eldora Crow. Yes, I gotta reach out to her, get her back on. Shout out to Eldora Crow. I know I was on her show one time. We got to maybe revisit that, do it again. All right, Didi Chantel says, I want to know, even though it's subjective, have you seen any type of spiritual counsel? Question mark. Reason is why there are some people who are protected and others aren't. It's about the consciousness level. Well, what you're talking about, you're getting into more of, and this is going to be a little bit, I'll be as accurate and as brief at the same time as I can, because this could be a whole class. There's what we call in certain spiritual circles, or when you get into the intergalactical aspect of things, is the best way I can describe it. When you're talking about interdimensional beings, whether you're talking about reptilian, I gotta be careful when you talk about this because people spook it out. Greys, aliens, extraterrestrial life form. When I'm saying aliens, I'm not talking about sci-fi horror monsters, because that's not what all aliens are. Some of them are very humanoid in nature. If you look at even in some of the archetypes we work with, they have that reptilian, alien, dragon current or energy to it. So long story, when you talk about, say, the Atlanteans, you talk about some of these intergalactical species, and a lot of the information that exists that's out there, you validate what you accept to be true or not, whether it's grimoires, ancient text. A lot of them have these councils that are placed over it to kind of keep certain things harmonized and in order. Why people are protected or not, I don't really think it's a matter of that. I think first and foremost, everybody has the power to create their own protection. Now, there are certain people who might be linked heavily or stronger into other currents that might have different levels of protection. None of us really are victims when we have the knowledge and the awareness. Okay, so nobody should be unprotected in that sense. But for those that it goes beyond that, and in reference to the spiritual councils, yes, it is connected to levels of consciousness and awareness, of course, because that's why some people might, their aspect of that might go beyond the surface of the basic level of that. So yes, it's definitely connected to what you tap into, your level of consciousness and awareness, where you are in your spiritual journey, what you've tapped into, connected with, all of that plays a strong role, most definitely in that. But it's impossible to break that down from person to person because it's very personal. As you said, it's very subjective in nature, and it would be pointless. So that's the best I can tell you on that. All right, what else we got? Yeah, well, Johnny Wolf, don't be afraid to ask the questions. I appreciate your comments. Even if you get some that come here, just pop them in here, and I'll do my best. Okay. Bree, I appreciate you. The knowledge of the Patreon is priceless. I appreciate that. Brother Taja, what's going on? Yeah, we got to get back on track. I know we didn't schedule a hip hop occult show last month. Let's try to get one in this month because I ain't doing shit in December. And hockey season's thick right now. It's thick, baby. Now, I'm dealing with 2 hockey seasons. My Florida Panthers started. I got season tickets to them. So I'm trying to get to all my Panther games, and then my son's he's in the thick of the hockey season right now. But yeah, we gotta get something early in November. You just put the show together. That's your job on that part. I'm cool with whatever, and send it over, and we'll get it cracking. All right. It's going Mika, greetings. Johnny Ross says, when the darkness comes, rock on. That's right. What else we got? Okay, yeah, I think we're at 9:38. You came in kind of late, Mazzy Tech. I addressed that, Brother Panic. Yes, I actually knew Brother Panic personally. So let me say this one last time. In the latter portion of the video, for those that came late, I don't want to create a video using Panic's name to make the appearance. I'm not trying to use his name for hits as clickbait because there's a lot of people doing that right now. As I said before, I offered my strongest condolences to his family, his friends, to anybody who looked up to him as an example or a guide or a teacher. My condolences to you. My connection to him was brother to brother. We did do some shows, though the last few years we were not really connected like that. 2014 and 15, there was a 2-year period. I did speak with him regularly on the phone. We did do some shows together on a radio show at the time we had called Awakening Universal Minds. Some of you guys found me through that show. And a lot of you guys came over from that show. That show is still up on his Occult Lectures YouTube page. Just go through his archive. You'll see we did a hip hop occult show together on there. We did a long show and some crazy shit. We did a couple, 3 or 4 of them. And then I did a show with him and Alim Bey. That's also, I believe, I don't know if he put it on his page or it's on the Awakening. It's all that should be there in some shape, form, or fashion on his page. But there was a 2-year period, things sometimes, life changes, things go on. I started moving one way. Just that was the only reason why. No specific reason why the contact didn't stay there. I mean, I would tune into his channel sometimes, this, that, and the other. So, I have a connection with him as a brother. We're all, to a degree, as I said, I know people in the occult community, there's not a lot of tons of occult teachers, like, say, mainstream Hotepism, or mainstream Alafiaism. There's a gang of them motherfuckers on the internet. So I know people kind of link us all together, these small group of occult teachers out here. So I offered my condolences. We don't need to sit here and immortalize Panic. His work speaks for itself. So to sit here and get long-winded, as I said earlier, and go on and on about how great he was, this, that, and the other would be pointless. His legacy is there, right? The work is there. The YouTube channel will always be there. The history of that legacy he left speaks for itself. So I'm not going to do one. I'm not calling out names, but you guys have seen it in the last few days. I'm not going to do a long-winded video just so I can get clicks talking about how great he was, this and that. We already know that, right? So that's pointless. Tap into the legacy that's left behind. And if he was your mentor or elder in that same form of fashion, my heart goes out to you. But as I said earlier, too, if you didn't hear, there comes a point where the student has to let go of the master's hand. Okay. And I'm sure him or anybody else, that's what they would want you to do. It's time for you now to rise up as that master. And I'm sure anyone, him or any other that left in that regards, that's what they would want you to do. Okay. So again, and that's why it may not be in the title of the video. I've addressed it twice. Very well aware of it. There's some other things there that people don't know. But it was obvious. A lot of us knew for a while he was not well. Some of you, I'm sure, saw it in the videos where he was having issues just sitting up. There was periods where he was doing it laying flat in his bed, on his stomach or on his side. So look at the effort of, could have took the victim route out, right? Look at the bigger picture there, okay? To those that knew, it was not a surprise. That's all I'm gonna tell you. To those that knew, wasn't a surprise at all. We knew it was coming. We didn't know exactly when, but we knew it was coming. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to get into any particulars. But again, my condolences to his wife, his family, and for all of those who were connected to him on that level. Okay. What else we got? What's up? Okay. Are there any books? This is Diane Robinson. Any books on Jezebel that I can read about? I can't right at the moment. I can't think of anything in particular. I just know that there's, stuff scattered about. But if I do come across something, I will pass that on. But yes, the Jezebel archetype is a very interesting archetype. Yeah. Taj, God send me a job. Yeah, look, you gotta get out of that mentality, man. I feel you. Adam, I have no idea. You got to be specific. That question is very vague. Can you please explain what are planetary spirits? You obviously read that somewhere. From what system are you asking that question? Because if I just get long-winded, it's a waste of time. Got to be a little bit more clear. There are many things that fall in the category of planetary spirits. Adam Muhammad asks, might be an unconventional question. Adam, everything we do here is unconventional. Let me stop. But have you known any spirits that help someone from a harem, one man, multiple women? And if so, can you please describe everything you know about it? Yes, but I would not do that here open on YouTube. There's many jinns and classes of jinns that work with that. I will not get into that in an open forum like this. So only thing I can suggest to you, and it's not a sales pitch, there's just certain things I don't discuss openly here. And I would not get into everything I know about it right now on the spot. That's ridiculous. So if you would like to reach out for a personal consultation, I'd be more than happy to discuss that in depth with you, but absolutely won't do that here. All right, what else we got? Nasit Radio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Bats are powerful. Oh, most definitely. Bats are powerful. When you look at the Variachi symbol in vampirism, right? I've been watching since high school. Appreciate the knowledge. Thank you. Oh yeah, the bats, especially in vampirism, and they're two nocturnal creatures. Keep that. Hold on, Gianno, what's going on in there? No, are you trying to flush? Oh, I'm hearing the thing like it's not clicking. Okay, my bad. Yeah, very powerful symbol. And you see the symbolism, the cave, they're very synonymous with Lilith, sleeping down, upside down, hanging from their talons, right? Everything is almost in reverse. And remember, when we look at things in reverse, like clepothic breathing, I know this might sound crazy. There's a connection with that, with the bat, because clepothic breathing is reverse breathing. There's more of a science into that. I can't really get into that here because it would be a little bit long-winded. But to your question, yes, the bat is a very powerful symbol, right? It's not just Transylvania and Dracula, right? The reason why, yes, they took the Dracula concept and all that's connected to vampiric energy, this, that, and the other. I get all that. But from an esoterical occult perspective, the bat is a little bit different, though. Yes, it's a nocturnal creature. It has impeccable vision in the darkness, right? Not blind as a bat, right? We hear that term, blind as a bat. Think about it for a minute. What is it really blind to? And if it's that blind, how can the bat fly around so freely in the darkness? And this is why you don't see them in the light. I said the light blinds, but a bat also is a predator. It will attack. Yeah. It will feed off of the life force. Okay. So yes. Yeah, you must have came late. Not addressing that again, Kenneth. I know you just probably came in. I don't know if you were here. I was just addressing it for the last 4 or 5 minutes. I addressed it earlier. I think everybody has heard by now about panic crossing over. Yes. So if you missed it, just go through the replay. Yes, I did address it. All right. Any other questions? I don't really see anything else. Don't really see anything else. I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. But you good? Yeah. So anyway, since I don't really see anything in there, let me kind of again hope everybody tapped into what I was saying earlier. And again, I will in the month of December. The one class I will be doing for all those on Patreon is an end of the year going into the new year class, what to expect. I used to do this a few years back and stopped. I'm talking about before I was on Patreon. I don't really share a lot of that with people. It's kind of what the spirits communicated to me. And again, I don't really do this a lot because it's subjective in nature. But yes, sometimes there are personal messages that come through for each individual to apply in their own way, not a message that you must do this and do that, that some people claim to have these downloads, this, that, and the other. That's why I don't really do that because of that reason. But I do every year get end of the year stuff. And for those that have been part of those classes the last few years, I give you some prophetical stuff to expect for the upcoming year. And for those that have been a part of that, you've seen a lot of that stuff. So I will do that, excuse me, in the month of December. But it's important that if you study the clip path and you understand the energy of Arab Arazak, and you understand that's the opening to the third astral realm. And one of the warriors on that third astral realm is Tubal Cain. If you're a Mason, you know who Tubal Cain is. He's the god of craftsmen, iron, war, weapons. And the raven of dispersion is connected with that cliff. And it's the god of war. It's a war energy. That is now open upon this planet. Okay, I will explain more of that in that class next month. It's just stuff I don't really talk about here in the open because you got a bunch of ignorant assholes that don't really get it. And then they take shit, they misquote it, they run with it. And I don't talk about certain things because it's easy when people are hiding behind keyboards and avatars and you can't see them and they like to talk a lot of shit. Can't do that in the Patreon. We see you. And I just don't play those games. Okay. Because if you can't make yourself seen, that shows that you got something to hide right there. That's number one. So I don't bother with stupid shit. But we must understand that's what we're dealing with right now. This is why things are going on the planet for the last several years. This is why, whether it's the pandemic, wars, atrocities, mass shootings, this is what's going on. Okay. And part of the reason when I titled this video, The Infernal Sinister Path, Remember what the definition said for sinister? The feeling of something bad or evil getting ready to happen, right? They're creating that aspect of the sinister path. They've been doing it for years. Okay. And if you work with the clip path, you would know. When you're working with the clip path, don't just look at it on the surface. And we do have an ongoing class on Patreon, Clipothic Sorcery and Magic. Don't look at it just what you're seeing on the surface. Correlate that to what's going on inside of you and around you. And if you're really connected to the cliffs, because they hear all these people connected to the cliffs, and I work with the tunnels of Set, and it's all this superficial bullshit. Okay? The energy of the raven is running rampant on this planet. And you're going to hear me say that a lot this month and the next month. And as I'm just sit here and pause for a minute, I see the face of the raven staring me, look at me in the eyes with its beak to confirm that. Just look, pause. We're talking. Just look, pause. Stop, clear your mind for a quick second. Look straight ahead, and you'll see the face of the raven. It's engulfing everything on this planet right now. Okay, there's two ways to look at that. You can look at it as negative and destructive. Remember, I said and I started saying this. If you've been paying attention, I do things for a reason. You may not catch it at the time. I've been saying this for the last few years now a lot. It all must be destroyed to be rebuilt back up again. That's the energy of the dispersion of the raven and the clip of Arab Arazak. If you work with the clip, that would have came to you clearly. Because that's just not some mythological energy that you're working with. And it's not energy that's for everybody. This is why I laugh. People on the left path of the cult. There's people who claim to be occultists in left-hand path. I've literally run into. They don't even know what the fucking clip path is. That's pretty sad. They claim to be occultists or left-hand path or whatever the fuck, because there's so much trash out there. There's this new age occultism out there. There's this new age Alafia Hotepism occultism out there. I've literally asked people, they don't know shit about the clip path. I'm talking about these wannabe left-hand path occultists. You can't be on the left-hand path and not know about the clip path. I'm sorry. Okay, well, look, you can make a claim to be anything you want. That's your fucking business. But look, we're in a day and age and a time, fuck what people think. The shit is over. Stop living your lives to please anything or anybody. That shit is over. Stop worrying about what people think. It's over. We're getting ready to head to a next level of awakening. And I hate to use that word because I don't even like the way it sounds. We're getting ready to head to a new level of awakening that's beyond. I've been trying to prepare you guys for this for the last 2 years. Why I've been going in on the mind control, how energy is transmuted, what consciousness really is, the speed of light, all these things, artificial intelligence. I've been trying to break all this down for you guys hard the last 2 years to prepare you for what's getting ready to come. It's going to be a new level of mind awareness that some people is just not going to be ready for it. And all the books in the world ain't going to be able to help you unless you've taken that knowledge and applied it and are able to put it into practice. This is why I've been saying that for several years. What good is all this knowledge if you can't apply it? You sound deep. If you're still worried about having an ego stroking contest and you still get off on talking in circles and you get your rocks off talking to a group of people and trying to impress them about what you know, who cares? Okay, this is the new level. Every year my energy changes and it's I don't want to say it's becoming more callous. It's becoming more I don't give a fuck no more. I just don't care about certain things anymore. Because I know where this is getting ready to go. I'm not interested in bullshit no more. I'm not worried about things that people spend their times worrying about. I'm not caught up in bullshit that's distracting me from what we're going to do. How many, you can go back to videos I did 2013 when I first started. What I used to say, fear is one of the key emotions they use to control you. They're doing things in the world and the media to keep you distracted from what they're really doing. While all that was going on years ago, going back to Trayvon Martin and behind, they were developing AI. They were developing all this high technology. They were creating viruses. You were too busy worried about getting caught up in your emotions, going to a fucking gun battle with a butter knife. I'm gonna go out and protest. Man, please, the fuck out of that stupid shit. Okay? Fuck are you protesting? I told you before, you can go protest anywhere you want. They can go into any town or city with tanks, machine guns, semi-automatic weapons, nuclear missiles, grenades, bombs. What the fuck are you gonna do? What, your God is gonna crack the sky and come out of the sky and help you? Your Jehovah, your Allah. Come on, man. You guys gotta wake the fuck up, man. That's all to keep you asleep. All that shit's to keep you to sleep. That's the sheep going to the slaughter. I told you, go back to when all that shit popped off of the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement. They exposed all those leaders in those movements, all the ones that were riling up the masses you saw on TV, all those rah-rah speeches. None of them were out there on the front lines in those riots, but they were sending other people out there to get killed, to get shot. Look at the one, what's the one that just got exposed? The one out on the West Coast, talking all this anti-white shit. She's living in a rich white neighborhood, been funneling, stealing money, buying these mega properties, living in a rich white neighborhood, screaming how much she hates white folks, though. I don't know her name. You guys know who the fuck I'm talking about. I told you that shit is all a hustle and a scam. I told you the Democratic Party, what you call that, NAACP, people like Hillary Clinton. Go look at the people who did the greatest donations to the BLM movement, and you'll see the agenda that was behind it from day one. Don't get me started on the other stuff, because if I turn this into a political show, don't get me started on all this bullshit that's going on right now, because you ain't gonna like it. And now you got this bumbling idiot of a president who can't even walk 5 feet without fucking falling down. Can't even get 5 words out of his mouth. Okay. And if you think that's the same president that came into office, you're completely stupid. That is not the same man that came into office. All you gotta do is look very closely. Okay. I want to get into this conspiracy things, but I figured out a while back that is some type of clone. Go look at the man that first won the election. All you gotta do is first look at the eyes. Very just look at the eyes. That is some type of fucking retarded ass robot that they got up there. Okay. I don't know what that is. But my whole fucking point, don't get caught up in all that shit. Okay. Yeah. Don't get caught up in any of it. Okay. It's very important. But again, I can't think of the name of the woman that in that BLM movement. She was one of the, you guys know who I'm talking about. If you Google it, you'll see. And it's funny how it just quietly fades into the background. Nobody's saying shit. Where are all the outraged black folks? Where are they all at? How come nobody's protesting in front of her house, wanting to tear her house down? And she lives in some rich suburban white neighborhood somewhere out in California. And this is one was talking about death to white folks, this, that, defund the police, this, that, and the other. Turns out she's been taking money from the BLM movement for years and been investing it in real estate, rich, living like a fat cat, and bought herself a mansion out there. Okay. And there was the other dude. I can't think of the dude's name. They exposed him. These are the ones that were in 2020 when all that shit was going on with George Floyd and all that. These are the ones that were riling up the masses. They were the people strategically put there to get the fools to go out, the sheep to go to slaughter. And look at all the puppets that ran in the street, burning shit down, protesting. Where did they get anybody? What did it do? Get somebody off a pancake box? What? It took Aunt Jemima off the fucking syrup bottle, Uncle Ben off the rice box. Well, we took the Robert E. Lee statue down at this. Man, stop. You motherfuckers are retarded as hell. That's what that did. Robert E. Lee statues, Confederate statues got taken down. That's the great accomplishment. Come on, man. When will people stop being simpletons that it ain't even about any of this shit? But this is the shit. That's where it got you. That's where it got you. That's the great success of all that bullshit that went on. Or was that all self-created as a distraction because there was something bigger going on behind the scenes? Why at that time? Ask yourself, why did all that shit pop off in 2020 into 21? What was that all about? I'm just asking a rhetorical question. I know what it was about. See, race plays off of your emotion, fear, doomsday, end of the world, pandemic. Let me go show you how fucking stupid human beings are. All that shit popped off. What was the first thing people were worried about? Toilet paper. Was there some ass demon coming back, some ass monster that I didn't know about? Where did people gather their intelligence? Regardless of what you researched on COVID, that was the toilet paper? Really? Let's buy up all the toilet paper? It's scary. When I say it's scary, the level of ignorance, the level it's gotten to in the last 3 to 4 years is fucking frightening. To look at what we got coming up behind us in certain areas is scary. Very scary. You got to be aware of what's going on. You got to be aware of what's going on and what's getting ready to happen. Okay? Because 2024 will be a very interesting year, to say the least. Okay? So don't get caught up in the bullshit. Okay? Don't let none of this be a distraction of what you need to continuously be doing. Okay? Because every time somebody reaches out, tells me this, that, or the other, again, it's not about what I think. That's irrelevant. So you don't need to email me. What do you think about this? Oh, I saw this, that. I don't. That's what I think about it. When I say I don't, doesn't mean that I'm not aware and I don't have my own thoughts on it. It's my polite way of saying I still got to do what I got to do. Okay? Because at the end of the day, life goes on. Bills got to get paid. Mouths got to be fed. Shit needs to be accomplished. Things need to happen. That's it. That's it. Okay? And never get caught up in that. That's why I keep saying that for years. Never get caught up in that. And I will say this. A lot of you guys need to be careful. One of the things I'm not going to get into here, a lot of you guys that smoke a lot of weed, am I saying this? No, I'm not saying don't smoke weed. A lot of you guys that do a lot of these recreational drugs, be very careful of that in 2024, because it is a vessel and an avenue for them to do things to really get to you. Okay? Be very careful. There's a reason why they're legalizing a lot of things. There's a reason why these cannabis dispensaries are opening everywhere. It's not just medical marijuana. Okay? And that's going to get more sophisticated. And I'm going to talk about that in that class in December. There's a lot of things that they have shown me, ways of launching attacks on us. Okay? We have to, look, I'm big on living your life, enjoying your freedom, but we must do it wisely. They're going to start clamping down even harder and trying to control things. Literally, I'm going to show you, they're trying to initiate another complete shutdown. They're trying hard. And I'll explain that. They actually were trying to get it done by October before the end of the year, but things have happened and there's a reason why, but that's a whole nother story. But all these things, don't look at what you're seeing on the surface. You got to look at the bigger picture. Okay? Got to look at the bigger picture. Okay. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right. Any other questions? Not just comments, questions. What else we got? Johnny Will says, as a raven or a crow flew directly over me. Yeah, the crow and the raven is a powerful symbol. It's a powerful symbol, okay? Because we know what they're connected to. And as you described, there's a reason, obviously, you saw that from your jail cell, right? You clearly got the hypnosis that those ravens appeared at your cell to show you why you were incarcerated, who set you up, how you got there, why you were given the time you were given. But it was also a reminder for you not to put yourself in that situation ever again. Okay? That's the most important thing. And as I said before, life is about making mistakes as long as you learn from those mistakes. When you keep repeating the same mistakes, the same pattern, that's on you. No spiritual practice in the world is going to help you. But that was a reminder. When at that moment you realize what you fucked up on, it came clear to you. Okay? And this is why the raven and the crow is also synonymous with the cemetery, right? The owl, all these birds. You know, the vulture, that's getting into something else. Right? The vulture feeds off of the ignorant, feeds off of the physical carcass, the physical body, and it devours the spiritual body when the individual is weak. And that's why it's called a vulture, because it devours, right? And that's why it is a filthy bird that has no morals. It has no boundaries. It's not your really traditional predator that attacks. It only really attacks the weak, stricken, the impoverished, the poor, and I'm talking spiritually. And then it launches in and attacks. It's almost like a cowardly predator bird. That's the best way I could describe it. It's very intimidating and menacing. And what does it do? Before it waits till the individual, it just hovers around and flies around and waits till it taps into the death energy. And once they smell death and they sense death is upon the subject, that's when they attack. It's a different type of predator. It's a very, very low, fucked up type of bird. Okay. It's the bird you always need to be aware of. It's that person in your life you think is your friend, but waits till you're weak and then attacks. It's the woman you thought you could trust or the man you thought you could trust. Once they smell death in you, like the vulture, they attack when they see you at your weakness. Okay? It's the job that abuses you, takes advantage of you, but first created the illusion that they were all for you. And then once they got everything out of you and used and abused you, the vulture mentality settles in and they attack. That's the vulture. Okay? There's a lot of vultures around us all the time, and sometimes we're not aware of it. Okay? That's why I said the vulture, it's a cowardly bird. But it's a very destructive, wicked, cowardly bird that you should never turn your back on. It will only attack when they feel they have the upper hand. They're not warriors or predators in the sense that they're aggressive. Like I say, they'll fly around. When they see a wounded prey, they'll fly around in circles for hours. They're very patient in waiting for their attack. Okay, don't get me started on the vulture. Vulture has a lot of meanings. A lot of meanings. Okay. But yes, them crows. It's almost like I see you, like in one of them old movies where the cell is kind of low, and the window is really elevated, like in them old movies where you look, you got to kind of prop yourself up a little bit to look and see. It's almost like, I know it's symbolic, it's almost like I see you pulling up and looking at the crows. But that's symbolic. That represents you being buried or devoured in the abyss at the moment. Pulling up represents the rising. The crows represent the awareness or getting that gnosis that you just described. So yes, as long as we learn from that. Okay. All right. So any other question? Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that ass demon, boy. Don't play with it. All right. Yeah, the dispensary. Yeah, that medical marijuana. There's one right next door to me, right when I come out. In my housing development where I live, once you come out of the gate, first thing when I enter onto the main road, there's a gas station. Right next to the gas station, it used to be a Pizza Hut. Fucking crazy. Went from a Pizza Hut, they're everywhere here in South Florida. Every fucking place you go. It's one of the biggest hustles right now. And one, part of the reason, which some may have figured out, part of it is a way for them to legally move large amounts of marijuana, whether it's from state to state, drugs from state to state, or even from out of the country, because it's some of them are fronts. It's not just about doctors and the whole hustle with the medical thing between doctors and patients, this, that, and the other. That's part of it. Yeah, we all know what that is. There's a bigger picture to this, though. But they're everywhere, and you're gonna continue to see more. Diane, it depends. The black dog and the black wolf mean many different things, especially with Lilith or Hecate. It just depends on what perspective you're coming from. All right. Yeah, repeatedly doing the same thing and expecting a different result. 100%, Taja. It's not going to happen. This is why I love people that will contact you to do work. Can you do this for me? This and that, and then you do something, or you give them something to do, it fixes it, then they go back to doing the same shit, then they reach out to you to do the same thing. It's like, what do you think is going to keep happening? All you're doing is it's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound, or it's like taking synthetic medication to heal something. Aspirin, doesn't heal things; it masks the symptoms. So when you have a same repetitive behavior, you're masking the symptoms. Okay, until you actually make real change. Okay, so make sure you're not masking your symptoms. Okay, because you hit it on the head. Repeatedly doing something the same and thinking you're going to get a different results, that just caters to the ignorance of that individual, unfortunately. Okay, and we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. Yeah, I watched the King of Tulsa. I'm waiting for the second season. Supposed to be starting. I thought it was supposed to start in October, but I don't know what happened. I know his documentary actually just came out, officially released today on Netflix. So I haven't had a chance to check that out. I'm a big Sly fan. Love Sly. Was one of my childhood idols growing up. I was a huge Rocky fan growing up as a kid. We used to do the whole thing, have fucking boxing matches in our backyard. We used to do crazy shit. Oh, when Rocky 3 came out, oh man, fuck out of here. We were beating the shit out of each other in my backyard. Well, I did the whole thing. I had a library where I grew up in New York. It had these stairs, and we used to pretend like it was the stairs at the Philadelphia Museum, and we'd run up the stairs. I swear to God, me and my friends, we used to have the box radio when we were kids, got the box with the Rocky soundtrack, and one of us would run. We used to do crazy shit as a kid, man. Shit that was fun. Oh, but I love the Rocky movies growing up. I saw Rocky 3 probably about David, what's going? Look at this shit. Oh man, my brother David. Yeah, I gotta get with you and Keela, man. I know it's been a minute, man. A lot of shit going on. Shout out to my brother David, a huge Rocky fan, man. We talk Rocky all the time. Look at this shit. I'm talking about Rocky. Look who reveals himself. Brother David, look who pops up. We talking about Rocky. Yeah, me and David, man, we've had some David and Keela came here. They've done some ritual work. They did a vow renewal ceremony here. Very good people. They came here not too long ago, a year or so ago, and we've had many conversations on the phone through Zoom, this, that, and the other. And I found out early, and when we first, I didn't realize David, I forgot, just came up naturally in a conversation. Yeah, Tasha, you from Philly, so you get to go to the actual Rocky. You bullshit, and I got to come there. There's a dude online that does the Rocky tours. He takes you to all the sites in the movie. I got to come with you. I got to come there, come through, crash with your ass so I could do the tour, man. I want to do that tour. I've been wanting to do that tour for years, bro. And he takes you to the house where you know the house in the original one, the second one. He takes you to all the key sites, you know, where all the key scenes were filmed. Now, I didn't really realize that they only used the outside of Mickey's gym. That's the outside shots. But I didn't know the gym, all the gym scenes were filmed in LA. I didn't know that. I thought they actually did that inside that facility. But yo, that's on my to-do list, bro. The Rocky tour. But my man David, huge. I didn't realize, because my wife gives me shit about it all the time. She's like, how you fucking watch that movie all the time? She's like, you've seen every Rocky movie, like 400. I think I mentioned this to you guys. I got a Rocky ritual I do every holiday season that starts Thanksgiving. I make sure from Thanksgiving to Christmas, I watch every Rocky movie in order. I literally do a Rocky marathon. I might do it in 2 days. I break it up into two. I spend a whole day. I literally watch one after the underdog story always appealed to me as a kid. Always appealed to me as a kid. It just, growing up the way we did, it just made you feel like, I don't know. I think we all experience when we watch that movie, you know, you hear the music and, you know, the person who ain't got a chance, and, you know, the whole underdog story always appealed to me as a kid, because I always felt like I was a fucking underdog growing up like that. Like always, you know, against the odds. We did all that shit. I remember the summer of '82 when Rocky 3 came out. And don't get me started. David, man, you're making me tap into the Rocky energy, brother. Okay, making me. But out of all the Rocky movies, that was the only one where most of them either came out somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, all of them, except Rocky 3. Rocky 3 came out in the summer of '82. Also, E.T. came out that year. But I remember when Rocky 3 came out. Back then, it was a little different. We used to have one of us would go into the movies, buy a ticket, and other of us, we knew what theater it was playing in. We'd wait by the side door, and that one dude would buy the ticket, and then we'd open the door for the rest of the crew, and we'd have to hide out. We'd usually come out of the theater, try to go where the arcade area was till the movie started, this, that. It was different back then. They didn't check tickets like that. Now I know they got like all this online. It wasn't like that. You just bought a paper ticket and you found the seat. But that shit's changed. They don't do that shit no more. But that summer, I kid you not, I must have seen that movie, went to the theater. We would sometimes go and stay for 3 straight showings in the theater, me and my friends. That's how psychotic we were with that shit. I must have saw Rocky 3 that summer over 100 and something times, not even exaggerating. Okay? Not even fucking exaggerating. My favorite one, though, is fuck that. We're going to turn this into some Rocky shit now. Fuck that. My favorite one is Rocky 2. So I don't know what it is about Rocky 2. I could watch that movie over and over. You know what? I do know what it is. It's after all he goes through with one, how quick it's a reminder of how shit can regress and how things take a serious step back quick, and how every door is closed to him because, one, he ain't got no education, got no skills, no credentials, even after all he accomplished, right? And then what he goes through, if you know the story. Then 3, 3 is more of the Hollywood Rocky becomes so popular, this, that, and the other. You know, if you look at how the whole trilogy transcends, and then it winds up ending back to where he was, but not quite in the same way. If you understand when you get into the later, when you get into like Rocky V, Rocky Balboa. Listen, again, that's confirmation of magic. Like I said, with Walt Disney, I could even use the Stallone archetype with the whole Rocky character or concept. Okay. Here's a guy that created a character. Rambo 2 can be said for the same. Love Rambo movies too. But here's a guy who created a fictitious character, just like Walt Disney did with Mickey Mouse, Pluto, this, that, and the other, where the Rocky character is almost like it's become almost fabricated to become, it went from fabrication to almost as something that's been permanently ingrained in American society as almost real. Okay. As almost being real. Like it's become so real to some people, they don't even look at him as Sylvester Stallone. They look at him as Rocky. It's the first thing they say when they see him is, oh, it's Rocky? No, it's Sylvester Stallone. But let me go show you how powerful the imagination is. Look what he did with that character, and he created a persona about it that speaks volumes to a lot of people. I know some people that hate it, can't stand it. To this day, my wife has never watched one full Rocky movie, by the way. And I can't even get her to sit down. I don't know why. I think she just hates on him personally, but that's just me. She's a hater. That's all that is. But this year, that's what I do every year. I get to get him queued up, baby. DVD, Blu-ray, popcorn, let's do it. But yeah, Taja, that's seriously, you think I'm joking, bro. I gotta talk to you about that. I've been wanting to do that. I figure if I just fly there, all I gotta do is pay the cost of the damn tour. You know what I mean? Instead of doing that whole hotel package and all that other excess shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, we got to build on it. That's on my to-do list. What else we got here? But shout out to David. It's crazy. David just popped in. We're talking about Rocky. Look how he comes out. God, I love the Rocky movies. He had a soundtrack. Come on, man. I know some of you motherfuckers in the gym playing that shit. Stop fronting. Guys in the gym and shit thinking you Rocky and shit. But yeah. Diane asked, why did you move from NYC? Do you miss it? Yes and no. Well, I actually left and moved because my wife is here. That's why I moved here. Actually, at that time, her mother was still up in that area because she was working up that way. So we actually knew my wife for a while before that, before we got married. But long story short, she was rooted here. My father, who was still alive at the time, was here, and I had a sister who was here. So I was always coming back and forth here for a while, for years. So those were many of the reasons why I moved here a few years ago, was because my father was here, my sister was here, and then my wife was living here permanently. So it made all the sense to come here. It was easier for me to come here. And I had been familiar with the area from coming back and forth for so many years. So that's kind of why. Now, as far as missing it, yes, there's many things I do miss about it, and there's many things I don't. Well, first of all, understand that New York now, it's not the same New York prior to the pandemic. Been there. It's the energy and the vibe. Everything has changed. It's fucked up. The energy hasn't been the same since after the pandemic. But I do miss a lot of things about pre-pandemic New York, a lot. I miss Yankee games. Love you. I used to go to a ton of Yankee games. It's part of my childhood. As a small kid to a grown-ass adult, I used to live at that place. I would, as a kid, get on the train, go by myself. I'd go with friends. Even up until I left around 2013, 12, whatever it was. Still, when I go back and get a chance, I go to games when I go back. I miss going to Giant games. So I miss sports. Huge sports fans. I miss going to Giant games, Yankee games, Knick games. But Yankee games probably the most. I miss summers. I miss 4th of July, real 4th of July, old school 4th of July, block parties, big wheel races. Back in the day when we used to, get a permit, close the whole block off, put the barricades up, couldn't drive down the block, barbecues, father and son softball game, 3-legged races, right? I miss all that shit growing up. That's the New York that I really miss. Of course, I miss the winters, the holidays, right? I hate the snow now. I don't miss the snow. I like the snow when it first falls, but I don't care for the snow when it dries up and turns into all that black ice slush and all that fucking mess and driving in it. But that's probably the main thing I miss is Christmas. When Christmas was Christmas, wasn't all this political shit. Neighborhoods were fully decorated, right? It was a time. I mean, you go shit. You go back during them times when we grew up, 80s and 90s. Again, you know me, I get in my back in the day shit. Everybody in the neighborhood would decorate, right? Everybody on the block would decorate. Everywhere you went, it felt like Christmas. I don't care where you lived, what borough you lived in, what shopping center, mall you went to. I mean, whether you were riding the buses, the trains, driving, walking, it felt like Christmas everywhere you went. It was a great time of the year from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Now, I'm fortunate where I live now. There's a good energy here for that. But it's not like that. Nothing like true Christmas in New York. Again, pre-pandemic. Obviously, the food. Pizza's a motherfucker. That's one gripe you get every New Yorker that comes down here from Florida. I did find one place. There's a couple. There is truth in that whole water myth. There are places literally down here who get vats of water from New York shipped here just to make their pizza, because there is something in that water. I don't know if it's fucking steroids, biological chemical waste. I don't know what the fuck it is. But pizza, real pizza I miss. New York Chinese food. There's not too many good Chinese spots. There's a few. They get close. Bagels. They're pretty good at that here. A real good bagel place. But again, the water has a lot to do with that. And they're starting to figure that out here. But bagels is close here. I will say that depending on where you go. White Castle. You're asking, right? They need to find to get a White Castle here somehow. They do got one in Orlando, which I'm nowhere near Orlando. I'm in South Florida. Orlando is about 3 hours away from me, north of me. I'm hoping they keep getting down this way because that's something huge I miss about New York. White Castle, the neighborhoods. Back then I grew up in a time where the neighbor could whoop your ass if you did something wrong, and then when you got home, your parents would whoop your ass. That's a time where you knew on both sides of the street. I knew all my neighbors growing up on both sides of the street. I'm talking about that side, this side, from both ends. That's how it was. I miss walking around, people being, cordial with each other. See, people give New York this bad stigmatization that people so rude, this, that, and the other. That's not what real New York was. I'm talking about the New York where you be in the bagel shop on a Saturday, Sunday morning online talking sports with people, in the supermarket on the checkout line and just talking with people. That's really what don't let people bullshit you that New York is all so hardcore and grimy, this and that. It is. It's become worse. But when you live in a good neighborhood, that true New York neighborhood vibe, it's the greatest place to live, man. Real New Yorkers look out for real New Yorkers. That's the type of neighborhood I grew up in. And if you did anything to anybody in the neighborhood, shit, everybody would come together and handle that. I said this before in the past, the police didn't handle our problems in the neighborhood. We had circles set up that did that. Okay. Trust me when I tell you, that's how it was done. And the police, they knew that. And sometimes they would just look the other way because it's almost like we did them a favor in certain situations. And that's just the way it was. And I think that's when, in my opinion, that's when America was good. It wasn't all this political correctness shit. There wasn't all this sensitivity shit now. It wasn't all this, you must be politically correct. It wasn't all this, please. You did what needed to be done. And that New York, to me, That's the greatest New York you can grow up in my opinion. It's not the same. I would never want to go back there because of what it's become, but I do because I got family there. I was up there not too long ago for my niece's wedding. But my sister has left the borough area and she's moved way out east on the island now. You know, I still got my mom's, well, she passed away recently. My mom's sister's family who's still there, my cousins. You know, I still got sister there. So I still go. But when I go, ever since the pandemic has been over, it's not the same. I could just feel it in the energy when I get off the plane, when I set foot. Immediately when I land in JFK, you can feel it. It's just it's a different energy. They've done something, and it's not good. Now there's still some good aspects and energy that I tap into when I'm there. But even when you ride the trains, it's not the same. Okay, it's not. But there's a lot of things I miss and a lot of things I don't. I miss the pre-pandemic New York. Okay. I miss all that shit, man. Especially holidays, all that growing up, friends. It's a different vibe. It's a different energy when you live and I was fortunate. I lived in a great neighborhood. I had a lot of good friends, a lot of good family. And again, it's the era you grew up in too. I grew up in an era where everybody looked out for each other. You fucked with one of us, you fucked with all of us. That's how we rolled. I mean, if something went down, somebody came and said, "Oh, such and such did this." First thing where they at? Let's go. Everybody, you ready? Let's go. That's how we rolled back in the day. And that was a day, might have been bats or brass knuckles and fists. You know, don't get me wrong, shooting has always been going on. Stabbing has always been going on. But not onto the level it's going now. Now you just can't have throw some hands with somebody and call it a day, because now you got to worry about them coming back wanting to shoot and kill you. But that's how we settled things like that back in the day. We used to literally set up meeting places for fights. That's what we used to do back in the day. And we're gonna be at Hot Skates this weekend. I'll see your punk ass there. And it'd be like a fight prepared for later that night. I remember one time we set up a fight in the cemetery across from Hot Skates. I'll never forget that. A bunch of hooligans in the cemetery throwing hands. Just shit we did. It was a simpler life, but it was a different era too. Now, as I said, we're living under a different energy of death and destruction that has no mercy on anything or anybody. And that's the reality. But you bringing that up sparked a lot. I have a lot of memories, you know, and I live with it. I have a lot of memories of my mom there, right? My mom was as New York as you would ever get, but in a good way. That reminds you, she was a super strong woman that didn't take no shit from nobody and didn't hesitate to tell you how she felt and didn't give a fuck what she said to you in front of your friends. My mother was the type of person, if I bring somebody home, she would say right in front of the kid, "I don't like that kid. He's up to no good. He's no good." She'd say that right in front of the kid. But that's the type of New Yorker we grew up in. It's not all this politically correct shit. But the world is changing. We got to change with it. It's just the way it is. And as I get older, I just learn you got to accept things. But nobody can take away from you those experiences. But when I go back, I always go through my old neighborhood. And even then, sometimes it's crazy you bring this up because I'll just drive through there sometimes. And I'll do it sometimes at night. And I just see how everything has changed, man. They're gentrifying everything up there. They're building all these hipster bars and they're taking down all of these housing areas where people used to live, building these condos. Shit, if you go to Bedford Avenue in Brooklyn, even if you go by the Barclays Center, all the way from the Barclays Center and work your way, I don't care what part of Atlantic, Nostrum, any of those areas you go to, Atlantic Avenue, wherever it is, that's not the old Atlantic Avenue. Ever since they put up the Barclays a few years back, even prior before that, that whole area started to change. You walk that whole strip, it's all hipster bars now. Hookah spots and juice bars. None of that shit was there. It's crazy how they're gentrifying and it's all changing because they're pushing out the real native New Yorkers and they're building all this fucking bougie shit because they know they can get premium price for it. Look at Harlem, same thing. You go to Harlem right now. Once you go, if you go 125th Street, keep going uptown, just right there in the heart of Harlem, you're gonna see folks there you never saw before. That's become prime real estate. They're doing it in Queens. They're doing it everywhere you go. They're doing it down here in South Florida, same thing. I've seen it just in a few years, and people have told me shit prior before I was here. Some of these rough hooded areas that used to just be like low income housing, they tear all that shit down. Now they got condos, high rises. They're cleaning up the area. They're making it like a downtown with all these restaurants and, like I say, hipster bars and all this crazy shit. Like, who the fuck? I don't want no goddamn juice bar. Who the fuck juice bar? Come on, stop. The fuck. But yeah, when I go back, I see just the changes they made and where I grew up. It's crazy. It's not the same. You know, look, I get it. Stuff's got to change, but sometimes things don't change for the better. Look, you know me. I tell you, we have to all be prepared for change. Change is good when it's consistent and it has purpose to it. But these things ain't changing for the good. Okay, because a lot of people are being pushed out. They can't afford it. So where's that pushing those people to? Right? They've changed a lot of the laws. People that used to be grandfathered into rental leases and this, that, and the other, they're finding ways to get rid of these people. And these people, some of these people been ingrained there for fucking years. So yeah. Yeah, I see you guys typing in crazy shit, murder burgers, yep. All that stuff, man. I love all that stuff. I don't give a fuck. That's part of my upbringing. Yeah, but you shouldn't eat that stuff. It's no good for you. I don't eat it all the time, but I love White Castle. Fuck that. Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff. Bagels, bialys. Yeah, I mean the change of seasons too. Like Mama Muerte said, the autumn leaves. That's the one bad thing about South Florida. Yes, you get slight change in temperature. Like our winters, like a cold winter day here is like 55 degrees. People start pulling out their bombers and shit. It's hilarious. They start putting on scullies and shit. And they're looking at me crazy. I'm wearing shorts and a fucking shirt, sometimes sandals, and I'm watching these motherfuckers walk around in jeans and sneakers and fucking bubble coats. It's hilarious. Occasionally we do get cold fronts once in a while here, which I relish. My wife hates because the house gets so fucking cold, but she can't stand it. And if it gets to like once in a while, we might get a 30, mid 30s or 40s, and I get all excited and shit. Because I hate the summers here. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's many things like the same thing with South Florida. I love it, but the biggest thing I hate about South Florida are the summer months. I hate it. It's too fucking hot. And even though I've been here for several years now, I still can't get used to the heat. It's just not in my blood to be. Look, this summer was brutal. We were hitting high 90s, one something with the heat index. And I have a warehouse and a trucking company, and I'm in and out of that shit all day. And was not fun. I can tell you that. Was not fun. I love the winters here because, which we're in that stretch now, it's been beautiful the last few days, cool and windy. When we get that low 60s, man, if I could find a place that had low 60s every day, that'd be my ideal temperature to live in. Because I could wear light pair of slacks or jeans, shorts. I could do whatever I want. That to me is the ideal temperature. But yeah, I miss the change of seasons. But let's be honest, even up in New York, there's really no change of seasons. That's been for years now. It goes from either hot to cold. There's really no true, back in the day before a lot of these weather changes, there was a true seasons. You don't really get it like that no more. Yeah, you might get the fall, the winter leaves, and that. It's not the same though. I remember there was strict 4 seasons. You had your winter, you had your spring, you had your obvious summer. It just seems like now there's summer into winter, winter into summer. There's not really a long length in between. The springs in New York for a while now seem too cold and too long. It just seems like the weather stays cold way too long. It seemed when I remember being a kid, it seemed by March, yes, winter can extend into March, But it always seemed like early April, it'd warm up. Sometimes in April now, it's still too fucking cold up there. So even that has changed. That's not really the same up there in New York. And it's been a while like that, going back to the early 2000s, right? That's when I really started noticing the seasons really changed. It didn't really give you that 4 season no more. And I'm going to say going back to like 2003, 2004, that's changed. Okay. What else we got? Hell no. You don't put no honey ham on an Italian sub. Who the fuck does that? Hell no. Hell no. Boar's head ham. You know, it's got to be real fucking ham. Honey ham on a fucking sub. What else we got? Oh yeah, the rap battles in the park. Oh yeah, the park. All local battle. We used to, I mean, shit, street corner battles. The parks, yes, that was a key spot. St. Albans. I mean, because I grew up in in all those surrounding areas of Queens, St. Albans, Springfield Gardens, Rochdale Village. You know, all. And it's funny because I know you guys mentioned Brother Panic earlier. We used to have a lot of talks about it because, as you know, he was from Queensbridge, and you know, we all know his connection to music, this, that, and the other. I remember in that period I was telling you that we used to talk a lot. Didn't talk a lot in the last several years. But 2014 and 15, we used to have a lot of talk. We talked about that on that one show that's archived on his page. Go look it up. But yeah, he come from that. That's that other side. There, Queensbridge battles in the projects, all that shit, man. Far Rockaway. People don't really know Beach Channel Drive. Far Rock. There used to be a lot of battles that used to go on out there. Not safe out there though. Back then, Far Rock has always been. We call that the other Queens. That's always been a fucking crazy place. And don't sleep. Much respect, Far Rockaway, Queens. If you're from Far Rockaway, that place is no joke. And I'll be honest with you there's some thugs out there, boy. Much respect. If you ever walk, I mean, some of you know, you know. Be careful out there on Beach Channel Drive. And it's been like that for years. It's never really changed. It's been a lot of Mott Street. Let me tell you something, man. They used to have a lot of battles that used to go on out there. Matter of fact, at that time, that's out of that way. That's where I met. They actually from Long Beach in Long Island, but that's where I met KMD, Doom, Third Base. All of them had that connection from Far Rockaway to Long Beach, out in Nassau County. I don't know if you guys remember the dancer that he got hit by a car, Sambo, which a lot of people don't realize. That's what did MF Doom in. That's when he changed from KMD to Doom. Those that were around at that time, he never fully recovered from the death of his brother. And he went into what people call that character Doom, which some labeled a very abstract, dark character, but he was never the same after that. And that's why if you look at his music and how it drastically changed from when he was with, the group KMD, and when you see him in the, Peach Fuzz video. I told you the Peach Fuzz video, when you see that brother in the beginning, you saw he was an Ansar. I used to belong to that organization for years. That's what I started out as. I'm not gonna get into all that now. You guys know that history. But when you look at that KMD on Gasface, he transformed from that into what we know as MF Doom, and then obviously we know he passed away. But remember, he stopped making music for a few years after his brother passed. So that took him to a whole nother place. But Far Rockaway and Beach Channel reminds me of all those battles. There used to be a lot of shit that used to go on out there. Even the parties, the battles at the house parties. I remember being at, it could be Far Rock, East New York. East New York, man. Goddamn. East New York, Flatbush, Ridgewood, Queens, going into Flatbush. Shit, I remember being in apartment parties, project parties, gunshots going on. It was a crazy time, but it's weird because even though that shit used to pop off, you never really, I mean, yeah, some of it was a little bit, intense, but it wasn't really like, I don't know, it was different. I can't describe it. It was almost like it was the norm. And not everywhere was like that. I don't want to paint a picture like everywhere you went in New York, you had to keep, like you was going to get shot. Because some people present it as that. And I hate that because it makes New York sound like it's this terrible place to live. Now, is there fucked up places in New York? 100%. I'm not going to sit here and try to downplay that. But I don't want to paint a picture like everywhere you walk in New York is terrifying. Because I've met people over the years going back, being young to present. I'm like, there's stereotypes about that too. There's some great places in New York too. But yeah, the rap battles. I miss even the classic places to go. Rooftop. Man, all the classic, Empire Boulevard, Empire Skating Rink. I mean, all the places we used to go to watch, Latin Quarters, Roseland, all the places back in the day we used to go, Union Square. Shit. That used to be a big spot to go to in the 80s and 90s when you wanted to see like Big Daddy Kane. I've seen Kid and Play, Public Enemy. Well, Public Enemy is more, they were from Long Island, Nassau County. But these were the places we went and used to go to watch shows. 007 in Queens, that was another spot where we used to go see a lot of the Queens and Long Island rappers. Lord Finesse, I remember seeing him perform out there. And back then, they did a lot of them shows. Not like that now. A lot of these artists don't do small venues like that. Now, them, don't get me wrong, them guys did. We know, obviously, they did basketball arenas too. But those were the hip hop spots back in the day, man. The skating rinks, a lot of the skating rinks in the 80s, they weren't just skating rinks. They were used as places, for stuff like that too. Like I said, Hot Skates, Empire Boulevard in Brooklyn had a skating rink they did a lot of shows at. Yeah, we used to go to all those spots, man. Well, I miss all that shit, man. Yeah, that's the real, and to me, that's the real New York. Park Pass. Anyway, yeah. So definitely that's an ingrained part of the culture. Oh yeah, the Stick Up Boys. Yeah, I remember. I mean, in the '90s, Stick Up Boys were big. I remember when the Sherlin coats were out. I watched dudes get stuck up broad daylight for their Sherlins, their Goose Downs. I mean, them jackets back in the day, they were like anywhere from $180 to $300-400, and everybody wanted one. When the Sherlins and the Goose Downs came out, everybody wanted one. Whether it was the regular size, the 3/4 fur collar. I mean, I watched a dude on Delancey and Essex Street on a payphone. I watched dudes just run right. I'm talking broad daylight, weekday, 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how real Sticker Boy. They didn't give a fuck. I watched them pull up right to the curb, 2-3 jump out, run it. Once you heard the words, run it. That was basically everything you could take off in the short amount of time they were willing to stay there. That was shoes. That could be your sneakers, your jewelry, your jacket. And if they was kind, they'd leave you in your underwears and your t-shirt. Well, that was more in the subways. So my boy got robbed on the 7 train. Never forget. No, not the 7, the L, my bad. The L was always a dangerous train to ride. You never want to ride. That was because some of the Stick-Up Boys in the subway, there was train lines we always knew growing up. You just don't ride that train at a certain time of the day. And, when you think with that head and not this head, and he was told, he was warned, he tried to get me to go out there with him. I said, I ain't stupid. But he wanted to take that gamble. And I'll never forget, we ain't had no damn cell phones. We had pages. Everybody back then, if you had a pager, you was a drug dealer. That used to kill me. You a drug dealer? Everybody had a pager. Everybody thought they was drug dealers. I'll never forget. Now, mind you, we're renting the upstairs of a house. We're renting 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs. Me and my boy I grew up with, the one that passed away, I told you, committed suicide. Rest in peace. Always loved that dude. That was my, like, a little brother to me growing up. But I sometimes felt like I was the little brother because he always used to look out for me. Bailed me out of shit so many times. But anyway, no phone in the place we're living in. Beepers, payphone on the corner. That's how we used to communicate back in the day. And I never forget, about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, my pager goes off. Now, you know, as men, it's one or two things. I know growing up, either that's a booty call or one of my boys is in trouble. That's the only reason why somebody calling at that time. So me, I'm hoping it's a booty. I look at it and I see the number. I'm like, yo, whose fucking number is this? He's calling me from a payphone in the subway. Immediately, my instinct said it was him. I knew he got jacked. Man, I go run down to the corner. I don't know if it was a quarter or a dime then, or 15 cents. I don't know what the fuck it was. But we always carried coinage back then when you had your pager because you always had to have change for the phone, right? I knew immediately because I didn't recognize the number. But it was a 718 number, so I knew. And I said, it has to be him. I get to the phone, I call, yo, man, I'm down at the subway station to bring me a pair of sneakers, some pants, and a jacket. I'm freezing. And I was like, yep. He said, motherfucker, get here now. I don't want to hear this shit. Man, I ran back to the house, grabbed him some clothes, another jacket, met him down at the subway. They were kind to leave him. They didn't even leave him his shoes, but they were kind to leave him in his t-shirt and his boxer shorts. They kept him, they let him keep his gloves. This is in the wintertime now. And I had to supply the rest and get him back to the house because he would have froze his ass off trying to walk a few blocks. And then not only that, you don't want to take a chance being out there like that, but he was in the fucking subway assed out. Okay. And one thing I'm proud of all my years living in New York, I never got robbed, never got jacked. Well, there was a group instance where a radio was taken from us, but I don't really count that because I was in the group, but I didn't get jacked for the radio. But outside of that, that's one thing I'm proud of. I don't know why, but it's one thing I'm proud of. I say that because all the years and the things I did, the places I roamed and where I went, I never once got robbed or jacked. And I rode many different trains and buses at the oddest times of the night. But it's a mindset, it's an energy. And I think sometimes they can sense the way you walk and carry yourself. And I always used to say, I used to pull that stunt like you see sometimes in the movies and shows. If I was sitting on a train, felt threatened, I always would say, I'll start talking to myself, pretend like I'm crazy. I mean, I never had to do it, but that's what I would do. I'd be like, just start acting like I'm a fucking nutbag or something. But I don't know why. I'm proud of that. Never. And I've roamed every borough you can think of, every part of New York, except Staten Island. Never really went over to Staten Island too much, maybe a couple of times. Don't know much about Staten Island. But never got robbed, and I'm proud of that fact. That's something that's a badge of honor I could take with me. But yeah, moral of the story is be observant where you go. But again, that was a different New York. Well, now shit, post-pandemic, some of these subways are dangerous to ride. They got a bunch of vagrants on there all the time now. You know, crazy shit's going on in these subways now, from what I'm seeing and hearing. But yeah. Nose to radio, not really. I do go on YouTube and I keep up with some of the battles, like Zion Lex. I kind of still like some of the stuff he does. I'm not gonna say I do vividly like I used to do back in the day. I used to like to keep up with the DJ World Supremacy. I mean, I go back to a period, Jack the Rapper convention. That's old school. During the times of Twister and rappers like that. I never was a huge Twister fan, but when they used to have it, I'm gonna say really up until probably the mid to late '90s. As things changed, I kind of fell off with it in the early 2000s. But now with YouTube, you can go on there obviously and post. And see a lot of the channels with the battle rapping on it. So in the last few months, I have gone on YouTube and kind of gotten back into it. But the only thing I notice now, not that it wasn't about talking shit, this and that, is too much with the I'll blow your motherfucking brains out, blah, 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 this and that, and this, blah, blah. Yeah, that existed in a lot of the rap battles back then. But I think even the rap battle game, in my opinion, like even the old Cassidy when you go look at some of Cassidy's early rap battles. Like, I kind of like some of the flows he used to do. I know some people have a difference of opinion. I know he's still trying to hang in there now. It's not really the same. But I think some of the creativeness and content, that's drastically changed, in my opinion. There's some good battle rap out there. But I think there's just too much more of a focus. And I know that's part of battle rap. It's too much with the I'll fuck you up and I'll pull the gat out on you and this, that, and all the metaphors with shooting you and killing you with the gun. You know, I get it. But after a while, that shit become boring as hell to me. And then sometimes it's when you look at it on YouTube and everything, it look a little staged to me. The crowd overhypes some shit. Oh, everything is, oh shit. Oh, hold up, quiet down, hold up. It's like, come on, man. I don't know. I just think it's lost a little authenticity, but I do find some of it interesting. So yes, I've been tuning in the last few months, but now I fell out of it probably a while ago. I'm stuck in my old school hip hop. I've been on a lot of Eric Sermon lately. I've been listening to a lot of his solo joints. I just went through my EPMD phase. My spirit I get up and my spirit will just connect me to a group. Like one day, it's old Cool G Rap. By the way, check out Cool G Rap's latest album that came out not too long ago. That shit is off the chain. I kind of wake up with a spirit when it comes to music. But yeah, I'm at the end. I'm about to change it up a little bit. But I've been on an Eric Sermon EPMD phase. Check out Redman's new shit too. Redman's been doing some freestyles on YouTube. Tell you something, man. You take MCs like that, their skills are timeless. And Redman, if you haven't been keeping up with him, check him out. He's been putting some shit out the last couple months, showing a whole nother side. Yeah, Delancey and Essex. Yeah, I don't know much about Staten Island. That's probably the only part of New York I don't know too much about. Just didn't have no connections over there. But Delancey Street, I have a strong connection with Delancey Street, Lower East Side. That's where I used to, what we call peddle and hustle, not peddle crack or drugs. I'm not gonna lie, I used to sell weed, but who didn't sell weed back then? I was the nickel and dime guy. They don't even do nickel. I don't even think they do nicks and dimes anymore. But I think everybody was doing that shit. But we used to have hustles back then. We sold anything we could get our hands on: socks, fucking underwears, sterling silver jewelry. I was the guy you used to see out in the street back in the day, the bootleg cassette guy. Remember the $5 bootleg cassettes, and then the DVDs and the CDs came later. I used to do all that type of hustling back in the day. CDs, DVDs. I started with the cassette game. Some of you guys that go back, no, remember the $5 cassette game? Give you the deals, the 3 for 12, 3 for 13, 5 for 20. You know that. Yeah, I was that dude. But I used to have to keep 3 eyes out open for the cops because they used to, depending on the cops, they would take your shit, especially if you didn't have a license. Depending on where you set up, some cops didn't give a fuck; they walk right by you. But I did the street vending thing for quite a bit back in the day. I did that a lot in the 80s and the 90s. And I tell you what, I didn't have a credit card or a bank account for years because I always had that. Always walked around with that. And yeah, a lot of people might have thought you were doing shit illegal. I really wasn't. I was, but I wasn't. But it was easy to hustle back then. That New York, it was easy. We used to go to Midtown Manhattan where all the Chinese wholesale spots were. And what I mean by the Chinese wholesale spots, all that shit you see in the dollar stores, the jewelry, all the little gadgets, all that stuff used to be bought Midtown Manhattan, all the wholesale spots. And we used to get a wholesale license to buy that stuff. Some didn't care. The Chinese didn't give a fuck. You went there, you show them money, they didn't give a fuck. So I used to go there, buy 925 sterling, Mexican plata was another silver we used to sell on the streets. Now, if you know the New York I'm talking about, if you ever walk by and you saw a dude set up with tables and they had these cases with like rings and earrings and shit in it. Yeah, I was that dude back in the day. You might have ran into me if you was on the Lower East Side. Body oils, I used to sell all the oils back in the day. And then I would infuse, when I got into the knowledge back then I would infuse the books. That's how I got into that whole street peddling, street hustling. But it was legit. And I remember, I mean, there'd be days, literally, no exaggeration, like on a Friday, You'd be out there. I mean, I remember being out there. You might get out there 10, 11 o'clock, stay out there at about 7, 8 o'clock. There'd be times make $600, $700 in one day. And back then, that's a lot of money. I mean, literally. I mean, you made 600, 700 on a Friday, and during the week, you might make 250, 300 a day. And that back then, that's making more money than a motherfucker that's busting his ass working a job 55, 60 hours a week. I might hustle up in 2, 3 days what they made and took them a whole week or so to make. And the cops knew that, and they'd bust out balls. But they didn't want us to have shit because even when we found kind of a legitimate way to do it, they would find little ways to fuck with you. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, there were some cool cops. They didn't give a fuck. As long as you wasn't, causing any problems, they just walked right by. They didn't care. Shit, I used to have cops that used to buy from me. Just as much as you had a cop who would bother you and harass you, there was also cops who were friendly and they would buy from you. That's just how it was back then. But you knew being in that game, you kind of knew what you were dealing with. So you went out there, alert, attentive, and then there used to be a gem discount store, and brother's name was Pito, Dominican brothers. They used to own, it was a gem discount store. When you came off the J, the M, or the Z line, you come right upstairs. Delancey and Essex, I used to set up right in front of that gem discount store, right when you come upstairs from the subway. And they used to let me keep my tables and stuff in their store. That's how cool they were. And if I had to go like grab something to eat or break out, he would watch the table for me. Now, don't get me wrong, Pito, he was a heroin dealer. He was pushing some serious weight on the Lower East Side. But it's weird, as much as a feared brother he was, and kind of the shit he was doing. And back then, Lower East Side during that time was infested with heroin. It's crazy, man, because I used to watch people walk right in front of my table and fall asleep while they were walking. Because heroin, that shit turns you into a zombie. And the Lower East Side was infested with heroin at that time. And it's right on the border. If you know where that is, it's right on the border and then gets close to Chinatown. So the Dominicans and the Chinese were always warring over territory and turf out there because it was very close to Chinatown. And, oh, man, it was crazy shit used to go on out there. But I used to make a lot of money out there on the streets out there. It was a great place to hustle because you had all people, the level of people that used to walk through there. You've seen everybody from everywhere, from all over, every borough, Lower East Side, uptown, Midtown Manhattan, the boroughs. I mean, it was just a spot that I happened to run into and saw the opportunity there. And I saw the amount of traffic that would come off that JM and Z line. And I stayed out there for years hustling till things changed. They start cracking down. Society changed. Cash started becoming less. People started carrying it less. Credit card game changed the hustle game. It's not like that. Not people don't carry cash like that no more. So that's when things kind of changed. But Lower East Side, that's a great stomping ground for us. I used to set up sometimes. Had a partner who would do the same type of hustle. And I used to go out to Fordham Road in the Bronx. I used to, right, not far from Yankee Stadium. I used to go that whole area out there. Obviously, I used to always hustle in Jamaica, Queens, Southeast Jamaica, Queens, Parsons, 179th, all those areas, man. We used to set up there. Lexington and 96th Street. Sometimes when you had boys that were doing the same thing, you could kind of partner up with them. But I'd be careful when I went into certain other neighborhoods because now keep in mind, saying I've never been robbed, I used to do all that shit. Always were carrying wads of cash on me. I kid you not, to this day, not once was my money ever taken from me. And I walked around, there's people that watch, they know what the fuck you're doing. There was dudes, but don't get me wrong, I used to try to the best of my ability, come across like, look, I don't want no shit, but look, I'm not going to back down if there's going to be some shit, but I'm not looking for no shit. But that's the way it was back then, man. All right, what else we got? Yep, hip hop. Yeah, Delancey Street in Essex, most definite. I like a lot of old school music. Shit. You got to check out the show I do with Brother Taja, who's in the room right now. We do a show called Occult Hip Hop, and we get into all that stuff. But I just want to make it clear, it's not just hip hop. I love all types of music. Obviously, hip hop and old school R&B is the foundation because that's what I grew up on. doo-wop music too, because my father was big on the old school doo-wop. Obviously, even old school reggae, certain dancehall, even that's changed. I love Afro beats now. That's like one of my favorites. But outside of like old school hip hop and R&B, I love old classic 70s rock. I could listen to old 80s heavy metal. When it comes to different genres, I like shit, even when you get into classical music. But really, 70s old school R&B is probably one of my favorite eras. 80s too, but 70s to me had a certain sound that was different. It had a very obviously it's soul music, but it had a different soul feel to it. But that's probably one of my best quote unquote old school. But any old school R&B, I really feel even 80s pop. It's funny. Back then, as a kid growing up, I kind of despised it. Like 80s pop was it just seemed like they flooded. I don't know, growing up as a kid in the 80s, the pop that they flooded the radios, it used to fucking annoy me. But I find myself as I'm older now listening to groups like Culture Club, Aha. It's like, where's this shit coming from? Men Without Hats, Safety Dance. I'm gonna throw a bunch of shit at you. I love Daryl Hall and John Oates. I even used to like them when I was young. I'm not gonna lie. I was a closet Culture Club fan because you had to be careful back then. If your boys knew you liked Boy George, they would tease you. But you listen to Culture Club now, man. He was a talented ass, or is a talented ass motherfucker. But the Police, I love old Police. Rush, that's more classic rock. But a lot of the 80s, I find myself the last few years going back listening Billy Squier, going back listening to a lot of 80s pop music. I don't know, it's weird. Because I think a lot of it is ingrained. Pet Shop Boys, there you go. A lot of these groups, we can run through. But 80s pop was to me, when I look at the 80s sound, 80s was a weird sound, a unique sound, a good sound. It's like they were trying to figure it out. Because the freestyle, don't get me started on freestyle. Johnny O, Stevie B, God man, so expose, Shannon, right? These all freestyle was huge in the early to mid 80s. That's what everybody was clubbing to back in the days. TKA, before they became AK7, whatever the fuck they were called, K7, Swing Batter Swing. That was TKA. He just kind of morphed into a rap group. Yeah, man, all that shit. All that's good stuff, man. But the 80s was so heavily laced with synthesizers, man. It's like they were trying to figure it out, man. And it was weird. There was some of it that was soulful, sounded good, but some of it, like when you hear real 80s music, you know it's fucking 80s music. Kind of got like a cheesy beat sound to it. Again, heavy laced with keyboards and synthesizers and the drum pads, like the drums. A lot of 80s groups, especially in their recordings, used a lot of the what do they call that? Not synthsonic drums, but they were, I forgot what they called them, not the electric drums. There was a term for it. Yeah, I mean, wasn't huge on the punk, but loved metal. The old classic metal like Motley Crue. Huge Motley Crue fan. Love Ronnie James Dio. I think Ronnie James Dio is one of the best metal vocalists. I loved his voice. Now there's the debate. I know this people disagree with this. Who was better in Black Sabbath as the lead? Was it Ozzy or Ronnie? I like Ozzy, don't get me wrong, but I like Ronnie James Dio as a vocalist. It's just my opinion. I thought Black Sabbath was great with both of them. But shit, all of those bands, AC/DC. My little guy loves AC/DC. The reason why is they play a lot of AC/DC at the hockey games in between between stoppages of play. So he knows all the AC/DC songs. But love me some AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, classic. All those groups. That's the kind of music when it comes to rock or metal I like to listen to. Iron Maiden. I was privileged for one last time to see Kiss last year. Awesome experience. No matter how old those guys get, they still put on a phenomenal show. Love Kiss to death, one of my favorite groups. All that shit. That's the type of shit I like. Yeah, but Pantera was too glam hair band for me. That the girls were into all that. I wasn't really into Pantera or what's that other one? Poison. I really wasn't Bon Jovi. We used to call him Bon Jism back in the day. I mean, don't get me wrong. I listened to some of like Bon Jovi, some of the song, and even the soft rock like Journey. If you ever listen to some of Journey's music, that's some classic shit. Journey was a really good group when you really listen to some of it. Foreigner. Foreigner was another group I used to really like growing up as a kid. But I didn't care for like those pop glamour metal bands. We used to hate them as a kid growing up. Yeah, Journey's off the chain, man. Journey's that music, their music is timeless, man. And I even like some Southern rock bands. I'm not gonna lie. Marshall Tucker Band, 38 Special, Leonard Skinner. I get in moods to listen to that sometimes. Marshall Tucker. I love Marshall Tucker Band, man. I go through periods where I just like to zone in on them. And same thing with Leonard Skinner, Charlie's Daniels Band. That's real Southern rock. So yeah, all of those things. Pantera. No, not Pantera. Poison. Like Poison, and I don't. Yeah, maybe I got them confused. Yeah, not Pantera. If I said Pantera, but yeah, I think it was Poison. I didn't really care for those type of groups growing up. Actually, I met one time at a place called Slip Disc in Valley Stream, New York, in Long Island. It used to be like a metal record store where they used to also do performances. I actually met Dee Snider out there from Twisted Sister. It was a big thing back in the day. But yeah. But yeah, I love all that. Love all that type of music. I mean, yeah. If you look in my playlist, that's why I'm saying my taste in music is very vast. I go through periods and moods where I got a feeling to do this. Like I might go through a phase for a few weeks. I'm listening to nothing but straight classic metal, or classic rock, or old school R&B, or classic old school hip hop. I might be in an Afro beats mood for a week or two. It's just what my spirit feels and dictates. That's kind of what I gravitate towards. I'm not one of those dudes that, try to play fake like, oh, I gotta be all rock or I gotta be all hip hop. There's dudes that are too embarrassed. It's stupid. But you got people like that. I don't listen to that shit. Right? I laugh at. I don't listen to that garbage, that crap. Oh shit, the Doobie Brothers. Yeah. Goddamn Doobie Brothers, man. Can't forget the Doobs. Michael McDonald, right? He broke off and went solo. I remember everybody thought Michael McDonald was black before they actually saw who he was. He's got a good voice. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac is off the chain too. Stevie Nicks is super fucking talented. Even her solo shit. Now Casey and the Sunshine Band, yeah. That's you get into a little 70s funk, 80s funk. Yeah, even funk. Now, I wasn't huge on the funk like Parliament, Joy. I mean, I did, but I didn't. There was some genres, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't huge on. Queen. Oh yeah, can't forget Queen. How can we not? Loved Queen, man. That's another iconic band. I would have to say Freddie Mercury, man. When you look at see, that's some creative lyricist. Okay, regardless of what your opinion is on Freddie Mercury. Actually, that movie they did not too long ago, that they did that pretty well for the most part. The guy that got to play Freddie Mercury, it was pretty good. I actually enjoyed the movie. But Queen, they want some next level shit too. Yeah, definitely can't forget them in the equation. Most definitely. All those groups, man. And look, music is so fucking important. So fucking important. Tech Nine, yeah. I'll get you through throwing some names. Bree says music coming out of Nigeria. Yeah, all that stuff coming out. Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh my God, classic. Right? How could everybody? That's a cult classic. Didn't they use that in the theme for the '70s show? Right. That's the theme for the intro, I believe, of the '70s show, which I used to love watching that show too. Yeah, man, Bohemian Rhapsody is a fucking classic. Yeah, Yeah, man. And obviously outside of everybody knows some of their main hits, but if you really listen to Queen, I mean, look what they did. I mean, shit. The biggest pop song they probably did, you know. And I remember, I think it was the summer of, I'm gonna say either 81 or 82 when Another One Bites the Dust came out. That probably became such a pop hit of that summer. I remember them playing that shit on the radio. Used to hear that about 9, 10 times a day. You gotta remember, that's how we listened to our music back then. We didn't have no streaming platforms, right? We didn't have access to hand select everything we wanted to listen to. We used to have a blank tape in the tape deck ready to wait for our favorite song to come on the radio. Then we hit the record button and the play button. That's how we made our tapes back in the day. Yeah, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Oh man, you could trip out on that song ritualistically. Okay, and pay attention to the lyrics in that song. They were into the occult. We know that. Even look at the artwork on a lot of their album. But yeah, man, a lot of good stuff. Oh, the Highlander soundtrack. How could we forget about that? Yep. Yeah, man, a lot of good shit, man. A lot of good music, man. I know probably will be gone, but I hate to do this. But how can this generation say that this music they listen to, especially the mumble crap? Like, look, I'm not saying that from a hate perspective, but how can you, even if you compared the R&B we listened to growing up prior to us, it's not the same as comparing, say, the hip hop we listened to back then to today. It's not even close. It's not even the comparison. So I'm saying, think for an example, if we listen to 80s R&B groups like New Edition, or you look at some of the early 90s groups, Boys to Men, real R&B groups, even when you go back to the 70s R&B groups, 60s, there was still like a connection there, right? You could still make the connection. There was still that talent, level of lyric. Can you really say that, though, today in certain genres? And going back, maybe some you can. I'm not saying you can't, but as a whole, it's not the same. You can't tell me a lot of the music has changed for the worse, and especially hip hop. I'm just going to keep it real. I know that younger generation go, "No, man, see, you're just an old grumpy man stuck in that old school stuff." Hey, call it for what it is. I just can't listen to oobity doopity doo, shibbity doopity bop, shippity bibbity boo, or I can't listen to I'm sorry, I can't. I just can't listen to that shit. I call it mumble crap because I don't know what the fuck they're saying, and it all sounds the damn same. Oh shit! Confession, Mika's confession about the Spice Girls. Okay, yeah. What was? Oh yeah, you can't forget. I just saw a documentary pop up on Milli Vanilli. Ace of Base. There you go, Johnny Wolf. There you come. Oh shit, I got one. Flock of Seagulls. Oh shit. We're gonna go into the vault. Let's go into the vault. There you go. Ace of Base. I got another one. You're gonna get into the old school new wave music. We used to call that new wave back in the day. What about you got the Eurythmics, Annie Lennox, Flock of Seagulls. Man, who was the other group that was real popular during that time? I'm seeing them in my head. Oh man. Right. That's a genre. You gotta really be locked into to understand the 80s new wave music, they used to call it back in the day. Now, if you remember in New York, 92.7 WKTU, before it was that, there used to be a new wave station. Right. Now 92.7 WKTU, that's old school. You gotta really like grow up. And yeah, Blondie. There you go. There's another one, but this one band that's bothering me. They were popular in the 80s. Not the Ramones. Was it the Ramones? Nah, man. Can't think if it's bothering me. They used to wear like all black, kind of had that gothic. Not the Cars. I'm thinking of the Cars too. They just popped in my head. I don't know. It'll come to me. Pat Benatar. I used to love Pat Benatar, though she was another talented artist. Joan Jett. As soon as you mention Pat Benatar, you got to mention Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Was it Lizzie Borden? What was the metal artist, the 80s metals artist? Was it Lizzie Borden? Can't think of her name. I think it was Lizzie Borden. She used to call herself. She was pretty dope too. The Cure, yeah, that's another quote unquote new age. What else? Yeah, Billy Joel. Billy Joel's. If you put Billy in that equation, you got to put Bruce in there. I think they're kind of connected. Bruce and Billy go hand in hand, in my opinion. I love old school Billy Joel. Some of his later music wasn't the hugest fan of. His first 3 albums, classic. But that first album, Scene at an Italian Restaurant, oh man, he had some creative songs on that first album. Lita Ford, thank you. But there was a group called Lizzie Borden, wasn't there? If I'm not mistaken. I don't know why that's in my head, but Lita Ford. I remember her being like the 80s female metal icon. And then, hey, I got an 80s guitarist. To me, was off the chain. Can't forget my boy Yngwie Malmsteen, right? If y'all don't know who Yngwie Malmsteen is, go Google him. You want to hear a boy play the guitar, make that guitar talk? He was one of probably the best guitarists during that period. Debbie Gibson. Yeah, I wasn't huge on Debbie. I thought she was a little cheesy, but who was the other one? There was Debbie Gibson. There was the other one. She was around that same time. Real corny, long hair. Steve Vai, there you go. Stevie Ray Vaughan, you can't forget him. Yep. Man, it had a lot of good fucking guitarists. But Yngwie was off the fucking chain, man. If you guys true metalheads, you guys know what I'm talking about. But if you're not, Google Yngwie Malmsteen. Off the fucking chain. Yeah, man. Yngwie was off the fucking chain. But yeah, and then the freestyle joints, I know you guys brought that up. 80s, 90s, man, all that shit. That shit, man, shit we used to do, man. Miss all that shit. All right, you guys turn Elton John. Old Elton. I was real big on old Benny and the Jets Elton. That's kind of when I was into Elton at the time. The poppy Elton now, like in the later years of his career, never was big on the poppy sounding Elton. Not a huge fan. Vixen. There you go. There's another group there. Accept. Right? You're going to maybe throw out all these names now. Dokken. Can't remember the Doke. Dookken. Dokken. There's a lot of good groups. That's when music was fucking music, man. I know it gets, look, I'm not knocking. I know some people are into that death metal and all that. I just couldn't get into it. It's just too much yelling and screaming. Now, I do get it. I do understand. My boy Eric, who's just here, he's kind of was into some of that stuff, put me on to it. I tried. I really did. It was all Pink Floyd. There you go. Now we're talking. Classic. Pink Floyd, off the chain. Timeless. That'll never, ever. And don't forget, back in the day, man, we used to have the local Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? That used to happen on midnights, only on the weekends. They used to do it at the movie theaters. Yeah, Dokken's Dream Warriors. There you go. Yeah, don't forget, remember the Rocky Horror Picture Shows? If you grew up in New York, what they used to do on the weekends, they used to have one midnight show. And man, it was an experience. It was like, if you've been to a Rocky Horror Picture Show growing up as a kid, it was an interactive show with the audience. You get a little messy because you get shit all over you. Papa Roach. Yeah, another brick and all that shit, man. Look, we had a beautiful childhood, man. I say this all the time. I know we live in a day and time where all we hear is depressive things and people griping and complaining how much they hate life. I'm blessed and fortunate to say I loved all that stuff, man. I had a great childhood. I loved everything about it. Yeah, we all been through bullshit. I've been through bullshit. You've been through bullshit. Yeah. But as a whole, I honestly can say I really wouldn't change anything. I really wouldn't. I enjoyed every fucking moment of it. It's a beautiful thing how we can connect with this. Amazing. Ooh, double Dutch, boss. Oh shit, you're going a whole nother direction now. The double Dutch. All that shit. Look at the wide range of genres we switch into in this room alone with everybody that's in here. Think about that for a minute. Look how we're shifting from one genre, and some of you I know personally, we're talking about we got people in here saying this of all different races, right? We got black folks, Latino folks, and I know some of you by face, who are naming new wave groups, punk rock groups, metal groups, right? To show you that this transcends across the board. It was a stereotype that all black and Latinos just listen to hip hop and R&B and vice versa, that all white kids just listen to hardcore heavy metal. There was a lot of white kids growing up that listened to hip hop and R&B. But it's crazy how it always existed. But yeah, maybe back then you wasn't as open with it because you ran with a crowd. You know, if you ran with the metal crowd, you had everything was metal. Right, I grew up in an era where the metal crowd every day wore. You remember the tees? You see me wearing them sometime, the throwback tees. You know, I wear them because I didn't per se wear them back then in school, but now because I'm older now, I didn't run with the metal crowd. But the metal crowd kids wore the tees every day, the graphic tees with the bands on them. That was like every day with a pair of jeans, with their mullets and shit and their spike bracelets. But I was fortunate because the neighborhood I grew up with, it was so diverse in the school. You had the metal kids, the hip hop kids, you had the Latino kid. I mean, it was just so diverse, and it was a beautiful thing. Oh, Pastor Ducci on the left hand side. Oh shit, they were based out of England somewhere. I forgot the name of that group. Yeah, they were the one-hit wonders. J. Rue. Now you're going into the '90s boom bap. J. Rue. The group home family, that whole clique, man, all of them. Now you're getting into that's real hip hop. I think he's still around, if I'm not mistaken, doing music. Yeah. But I'm saying, look at all the different, and again, I know a lot of you to a degree. Look at the different ethnicities in here and age groups, and look, Thelonious Monk, there you go. But look, man, now you're going even back. Look at that. Who would think we had somebody in here to listen to Thelonious Monk like that, right? Now I know Taja, you make music, so obviously sampling and all that. And I did it too, obviously in the '90s. We know this. We talk about it on the show. I think when you produced music, I used to sample a lot of '70s rock. I remember sampling before anybody really was using it. Barry White's "Deeper," the piano hook. I remember sampling Tina Turner. Well, that was with Ike and Tina. I remember sampling, I used to find a lot of hooks on '70s rock music. Huey Newton and the News. Yeah, David Bowie, of course. David Bowie's classic. Fucking Huey Newton. I think you meant Huey Lewis. You put Huey Newton. But I know who you're talking about, unless that's another group I don't know about. I think you meant Huey Lewis, but it says Huey Newton. Yeah, Huey Lewis, 80s pop icon, man, Delta Blues, yeah. But just look at all the vast levels of taste in music. You see the difference? It's confirming my point. Go walk up to one of these, and mind you, we were doing this at a young age. Walk up to somebody walk up to the average. I'm not saying there's not any out there that don't have a wide, vast and taste in music, but walk up to somebody, say roughly when you were talking your age in high school, teenagers, and see if they have that vast taste in music. Just see. I would put probably more than 7 out of every 10 individual would be very limited in their taste for music. They'd be quoting shit like, I don't even know a lot of names, Little Boo Boo, and I can't keep up with all the Little Boo Boos and Gagas and Little Boss Man and Little Bebe this and Bougie this and Little Gambino and Little Papino and Little Pepito. I can't keep them up. I mean, Adam Ant. That's another one I was trying to think about earlier. Yeah, he was a little weird though. His music was it was weird. Wasn't you don't drink, don't smoke? What do you do? That was Adam Ant's big hit. I'm not gonna lie, wasn't a huge Adam Ant fan. But still that group I can't think of is bothering the fuck out of me. I don't know who it is, but now Adam Ant's almost like striking. I'll be thinking about 21 Pilots. There's another one. Tiffany. That's the one I was trying to think about with Debbie Gibson. Yeah, she was another corny, they kind of forced her on you repetitively. But I'm saying walk up to somebody when you were a teenager and you were listening to all this shit that we're talking about and see if their taste in music is that vast. 9 out of 10 of them, they ain't gonna be able to name anything probably out of the last 5 years or so. because they so dumbed down by this crap they listening to now. And here's the other problem. Okay. Oh, Sir Elton, sorry. Uh, here's the problem. There's not a lot of live bands now. The problem with digital music and all the technology and the equipment, a lot of it is digitized now. So really, technically, we're talking about we're in an area where you don't really need a band anymore to create music, regardless of what genre. Not just hip hop, not just like new school R&B. We're talking about you can create a full rock album and you don't even need a band. Okay, because they have the technology and the equipment today to duplicate and replicate all the sounds and the instruments. The problem is back then, why a lot of these groups that are still around touring, like the Rolling Stones, for an example, these guys like 95, Kiss, who's on their farewell tour. Actually, we're going to see if it's final. Their last show is in December at Madison Square Garden, which should be because that's where they're from. This is their farewell tour, and that's why I was privileged to. They started last year, and that's why I wanted to make sure I saw them one last time. And they came right here to West Palm Beach, South Florida, and I got the tickets for crackhead prices, super crackhead prices, and man, I had the best goddamn time in the world in the last few years. At that day, I posted some clips I think on the Instagram. Yeah, it never gets old. Detroit Rock City, when they open the show, I could see that shit a million times. It's like seeing it for the first time. And then when Gene Simmons does his whole demon routine on stage with the blood, shit never gets old. I don't care how many times you've seen it. I don't care how many clips you watched of it on YouTube. That shit never gets tired. Okay. But yeah, all of that stuff. But that's why they're in the situation they're in now. These kids, you talk to them about shit like this, they don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Who's that? I know some of you got that Soul Glow album. All right, stop. I just saw a YouTube clip of the guy who actually sang that song for the movie, and he just did it. It was at the Tiny Desk concert. I forgot the name of the guy, and he sang it just as it sang in the movie. I was cracking up. He had everybody captivated watching it. The Beatles, yeah. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up. I've been on here, as usual, way longer than I thought. We're approaching 4 hours. We're not going to let it get to 4 hours because I could be here all night doing this. Yeah. Yeah, man. Everything. 70s, 80s, best generation era. Yep. All right. Other than that, as I said, I will get back to this week. That's why you didn't really see me posting any videos this past week. I was recovering from the serious flu bug I had. But I'm getting back, feeling much better. So I will try starting back on Monday, posting a little short tutorials. You know where to reach me again. We do have class tomorrow on Patreon, 3 p.m. We have the Necromancy Dark Witchcraft class. November's events kick off tomorrow. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's how you get in on the classes. I join 3 classes and a ritual every month, and it only costs $25 for the entire month. And if I don't know what else I can do, that's about as reasonable as you're going to get. And please, if you can't afford that, I've never had anybody reach out and complain, as I said earlier. Let me put it out there. That's crackhead prices. If you can't afford that, no offense, go jump off a bridge. Okay, it's the only thing I can tell you. But anyway, check that out. If you need to reach out to me for a reading, you shoot me an email. You see it on the ticker. If you forget anything, contact information, the Patreon class, the link to the podcast. If you forget anything, all the information is always in all the description boxes of all the videos, all right? Other than that, I appreciate you guys. Those of you who are a part of the Patreon family, I will see you guys tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Patreon class. Other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe. Holidays are upon us. Looking forward to it. Favorite time of the year. We'll talk soon. Infernal blessings. I'm out.